Good evening. What is up, Drew? How'd you get in here so fast? Did you start this chat before I was here? Hell, there's 8 people in here. What the hell is going on? 9 people? Do you see it before I do, or what? Are you guys time traveling? Well, like, what the fuck? CD? Yeah, I got all kinds of CD stores. When I was in Ramadi, it was like they they it was like the troop, like George Bush's troop surge, So like people got, I don't want to say, it's not like fucked. I mean, it's not that bad. I mean, we could have, it's been a lot worse in history. But it was like they it was like a 15-monther. So it was like 15 months straight, like nonstop. And then I went for R&R, like I was an idiot. So, oh yeah, you're getting witness, buddy. So I was an idiot when I deployed out there, and they they were like, they do like, sometimes they'll do a call for like who wants R&R, because if some guy's like, got a domestic issue at home or something, he's like freaking out, thinking about it all the time, and it's like he's not gonna be able to focus, right? So they'll be like, they'll give an opportunity if they can. They'll be like, does anybody want to go on R&R right away? Does anybody want to go in the middle? Like, some people get freaked out by losing their R&R, like going to do their R&R in the very beginning, and they're freaked out about like the whole tour, right? Then other people are like, I want to do it towards the, you know what I mean? So they let you kind of mess around with it. Well, I'd never done it, so I was like thinking it would be useful to the unit if I was, because nobody wanted to go early. Everybody was like, no, I don't want to go. Like, we had just got there. We were there for like 1 week, and then they're like, all right, R&R cycle's starting already, And of course, you've been in country for a week. Like, nobody wants to leave country. You get in country 1 week. We've been in one firefight the whole time, and they wanted to, and then they started R&R rotation. So of course, like, nobody's like, yeah, I want to go back and do the rest of the tour. But I was like, you know what? I'm hardcore. I'll go do it. And so I was like, yeah, I'll do it. So I took like I don't know if it was the first. It was either like the first or second R&R rotation, and that was a bad idea. Don't do that because it was the most excruciating. Like, doing 15 months straight with no R&R was like it was just, I don't know. I mean, there were times I was like near, like I would never say this, like in the unit or anything like that, but like there were times where I would sit around and be like, okay, maybe I should just shoot myself right now. You know what I mean? I think everybody kind of goes through that. If you have a hard deployment, like I think if your shit's like gravy, people are watching it and they're like, what the fuck is he talking about? Like, okay, dude. There were people fucking killing themselves. At the Corregidor, there were Marines shooting themselves in the head to commit suicide on, like, in rotation. And Marines only deploy like 6 months at a time. You know what I mean? And these aren't like soft Marines or anything. Marines had it fucking rough in Ramadi. Those ain't no soft boys. I'm not saying it like that. I'm just saying, like, psychologically, in terms of like the psychological package that you're taking, it's like you got to be fucking batshit to go do 15 months. Where are you? You're deployed right now? Ben? Is that what you're saying, or something else? But oh, sorry, I'm listening. Is that bothering you? I just got music in the background. I was listening to music earlier. I just got I've got one of those old iPods that doesn't have any internet connection or anything. It's just like a metal iPod. Thank you. Kerfuffle. Guys, I have no idea what's going on with the Texas bar kerfuffle. Can anybody give me a synopsis of that? Like, quick, down and dirty? When was this, first of all? I don't watch media. Like, I'm not on the news or anything. So my Twitter is Doug1337. So if you weren't talking to Doug1337, that wasn't me. Who the fuck's Terry? Oh, they immediately surrendered? Well, I mean, it's kind of early to get, like, have a firefight, don't you think? Oh, Terry? Yeah, the programmer? Has anybody fucked with his OS? Do they have None Dare Call a Conspiracy on audio tape? Yeah, I know Terry Davis died. Did anybody fuck with his OS that he came out with? Yep, what? You play with the OS? Is that what you're saying? You're talking to somebody else? Frederick Newson's documentary on Terry Davis. Okay, yeah, I'll check that out. That sounds interesting, actually. Yeah, Temple OS. How's work? It's the best day of my life. I don't drink Foster's, so. What in this case talking about Bryn Trant? Do you guys think Bryn Trant is a legit independent person, or do you think that's a government operation? Particularly Israeli. Do you think that's an Israeli operation? I don't know. Unlikely. You know that he visited Israel, right? Sure. Are you familiar with that? You know that Bryn Trant had Israel on his passport. Like, he was going to a lot of places. He wasn't just going there, but he was also in, like, Pakistan and shit. Yeah, North Korea and Iran. Yeah, it's true. He could just be, I mean, I don't know. I'm not going to say, I don't say shit about anything I don't know. He was a self-proclaimed commie. Was he really? He was a communist? Okay, that's a perfect way to go into this. So the way that I was thinking about this was that you know, what's a lie? He's not a communist. Yeah, Mossad is all over the world. They're fucking everywhere. Yes, I have lots of book recommendations. What do you want to read? He's not a communist. Okay. So you got, I mean, I guess, honestly, unless he's like your brother, then none of us probably really know. Any book reading material? What is a good book? So I think it's something that like blew my socks off that I realized. You want to read about ancient history? Okay. Well, I'm just gonna keep. I can't think of a book right now. If I was looking at the bookshelf, I could tell you. Yeah, I do like Starship Troopers. I think Starship Troopers is good, and I also think, oh shit, what's the other one? The Highland book where the dude comes down, the man from Mars or whatever. What's that book called? The Man from Mars? Yeah, okay, so here's Dugan's take. Stranger in a Strange Land. Thank you, Magnus. Stranger in a Strange Land is about a man that comes down from Mars. And it's a pretty rad book by Heinlein. Heinlein's got some. Heinlein's a pretty smart dude. Heinlein and Orwell are both. When you read their material, you can. there's just a different, you know, there's a difference between like, you know, an academic writer that thinks that they're smart and writes a bunch of stuff, and then somebody that's like a savant and will use regular language and is able to hold on to the idea that they're presenting through a book and then like morph it, but in a continuous, you know, metamorphose process the entire time, and then the book just revolves around it. Like it's yeah, we are. Yeah, it's kind of like a mix between 84 and New World, Brave New World. There's a lot of Brave New World shit going on right now. It's gonna be 1984 after the United States falls. That's when you get 1984. Right now, it's like Brave New World. I really need to trim my mustache. Okay, so I would like to talk, if it's okay with you guys. Yeah, you go to voicings for that mustache. I would like to talk about where we left off. So last time, or a part of, like we went through 2 episodes ago, we talked about a bunch of shit in Germany. And I just really briefly, I mean, World War II is so huge. Like, you got to understand that World War II was like every single one of these world wars is like putting fire ants in a box and just like shaking it up and turning it upside down and dumping out. You know, like it's like it just rearranges everything, and everybody gets displaced, and like everything, like everybody in the entire world is just like, oh, we're just trying to hold on, you know. And then they get out the other side, and like they're like, everybody's like, fuck it, I don't care. Do we get to live? Okay, that's good. You know, that's how that's how the 7 Years' War was. That's how World War I and World War II were. Go full. Well, this isn't going to be full conspiracy. This is going to be historical, and then I'll put an advisory up front here. We're now going to be talking about Dugan's interpretation of events. So this isn't like we're gonna be talking about, you know, events. I'm going to attempt to be in chronological order as accurately as possible, but I'm kind of dumb, so I might mix them all up, you know. But well, I don't think that scientific advancements came from World War II. I think they came from humanity. But I also don't agree with like war economy. Like people think that there's a war economy. That's because you don't understand economics. That's why you see, because you're looking at the effect. You're not looking at cause. What's really happening is that when you fight a world war, it's really like a vulnerability of the people who start World War, and so they have to like go all in with the funnel of money and just dump it into everything, and then it spills out into all the economies of each warring group, and then so then they grab all the money and then they like push through every single type of advancement to try to survive and live and win, and then whoever comes out on top is on top. But it's always pretty certain who's going to come out on top. You know, it's already like pre-chosen. It's not a fucking conspiracy. It's the way it is. I mean, I don't know how you guys don't see this. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to be mean. I'll try to be humble. I don't want to come off. I'm a dumb sheep too. You don't have to say you're a dumb sheep. I'm a dumb sheep too, and I'm blind. I fucking fought in Iraq. I'm blind. I should have had my head checked. I mean, I was young, granted, but young people don't have the stuff, the way that the world works. Young people, I mean, I don't even feel like I'm an adult now. You know, like I'm a 35-year-old man with a family. I don't feel like an adult. I feel like I'm learning every single day. I imagine it's going to be like that until the day that I die. So I imagine it's probably going to be like that until like after I die. Yeah, I did complete cyber school. I actually went through cyber school twice. So the first time I got like a foot injury, all my fucking skin fell off my foot, and I lost all my toenails. And then that kind of like, you know, left me out. I had to get a medical drop because I couldn't walk. And the second time I went through was a winter, and then I did fine. No, it wasn't Jungara. It was the what the hell was it? What the fuck was that? Oh, it was just like a like a long movement, and I went through a creek, and I didn't change my socks, so my socks and boots were wet, and I was like, I'm all right, and I kept on going, and it got a lot longer, and then like, you know, I got blisters on my foot for like 24 hours, and I was fine, but then the blisters started like popping and shit. It wasn't like a little blister, right? Where it's like if you get a blister on your foot, by the way, this is how you take care of a blister. So if you get a blister on your foot, as soon as you get your boots off and you realize you got a blister, you're gonna take your stitching kit, like your thread and needle. You pull out your thread and needle, and then you know loop it through the eyelet, so it's just like you're gonna sew. Then you're gonna take rubbing alcohol and you're gonna sterilize the needle and the entire thread until it's wet. And then you're gonna try to let it dry a little bit because it's gonna fucking hurt if you don't. And you're gonna stick the needle through one side of the blister and out the other, carefully with a single perforation. And you pull it through until the string's there, and you snip off the needle. And now you have a wick, just uh, like a gas oil lamp. Yeah, right. Ryan knows the fuck I'm talking about. No, this wasn't one of those kind of blisters, though, Ryan. This was like I got my boots off. I got my tennis shoes off, and then I was hey, good evening, LSD, provocative name there. So I got my boots off, and I looked down, and it was like I was like, oh, I guess I don't have a blister, and I realized my entire like pad of my foot was a blister on both feet. That was like how, like it was too you know the whole pad, so you like couldn't tell that it was like sticking out, right? No, they didn't have any soft shoe profiles when I was in. That I'm aware of. I don't know. Maybe they did. When I was in there still doing wood, like it was like Woodland BDU when it was in '81 when I was in early, like when I got there. They switched, the Army switched to ACU while I was in Iraq. So yeah, so then I got these big ass blisters, and I was like, oh man, that's not gonna be good. I can probably be all right. And then my toenails started falling out, and then I lost all of my toenails, like all 10 toenails fell out, and it took like 4 days or something. They all fell out. Like a couple of them I just pulled out because they were like dangling off and shit. And I was like, well, I can't even put on my socks, so I'm just gonna pull these fuckers out. And then at that point it was like all the giant pad blisters started popping and then just opening up, and then so it was just like raw flesh on my feet, and that's just like if your feet get like that, like you're out. Like I don't care. It's you might as well have just like stepped on caltrops or something. They went all the way through your foot because you're just not going to do anything. Like I was trying to do they had like for anybody that's ever been to Savage School, they have like a boots and ute run at like day like 16 or 18 or something like that, and it's like I don't know what it is. It's like a 6 mile run or something like that, like boots and utes. So you got like your rifle and uniform and boots and all that shit. And I was trying to do it, and I was just kind of like hobbling like a gimp, you know. And the instructors were like, "Wow, you're really tough." I was like, "Oh, hopefully I fall off a cliff," you know. But then I went back and no, they don't like these stories. How about we talk about shit that matters? Because you guys are like imminently gonna have a fucking communist takeover, and you're all gonna die. We talk about that. I mean, I seriously I get what you guys are talking about, but it's like I really don't think I really don't think that you guys understand the situation, you know. And I really think this is my judgment. My judgment is that when this shit comes around, you're gonna watch it happen, and you're gonna feel really bad about it. Like I don't mean like guilty. I mean like you're gonna really wish that you would have done more. You know what I mean? I'll fucking interview anybody. If somebody does somebody watch it, or is this just some guy like talking to me on a telephone? That I don't want to do. But if somebody is watching us talk on the telephone, sure. All right, we're not going to go into no high laws yet. We went into no high laws briefly last time because somebody asked about it. But it's like that's an entire uh, an entire topic that's separate. What's my take on it? It is happening right now. You don't have any control of it. You think you're accelerating? You're not accelerating shit. That's what is happening to you. They're accelerating shit. FEMA camps, I don't think that's, I mean, there's going to be repopulating, like a movement repopulating of the populations, but that's going to be like, that's only going to happen if there's nobody to resist, you know? Like if people can, if the United States population can be intimidated enough to like agree to leave their homes and stuff and get like moved around for some stupid cover story reason, like, you know, oh, we got a chemical spill over here, we got to move this whole city, then you're gonna see like camps and shit. But that's like way off. I mean, things have got to get really bad before that happens. Yeah. So okay, this is what I want to talk about. I'm just gonna take over. I'm a dictator now. So so we're gonna talk about the German Revolution, the communist revolution, the failed one, right? So what happened was at the end of the war, we're talking World War One here for anybody that's not familiar. So World War One was fought from 1914 to 1918, 19, depending on how you consider it. Okay. So Germany, you know, pretty much gets like they get like their heart ripped out, and they're gonna lose, right? And then you have the Paris conference, which is like where all the world leaders come to spank Germany. And then this is one of the things that we kind of briefly touched on this, like on the impromptu, I think, right? Was it on the impromptu where we talked about Paris and their reparations and all that shit for Germany? I mean, some of this stuff we'll cover later. I'm just, all of these pre-sessions, like we've only done technically like one full podcast. All of these have been because I'm apparently bored. Yeah, that's right. The Treaty of Versailles. Yep. So so like at that conference, if you recall, we discussed the Balfour Declaration, which was signed in 1917 by Lord Balfour, which is like in the British cabinet. It's like a noble, right? And it's the legal authorization of like granting through the Lord for the land of Lord Balfour, that is, through the International Zionist Organization, basically. You can see the text. You can see the actual text of the document. It's online. It's called the Balfour Declaration. So they had this already signed, and the only people that really knew about it mostly were like I think maybe the French and the British and the the Jews knew about it, but nobody else knew about it, right? So at this conference, like when Germany's getting their ass handed to them, that's when they start carving up all of the World War I territories to redistribute them. That's when you have like the World Zionist Organization is there, and then they hold up the Balfour Declaration for the claim, and they're like, we need this legally recognized. We have this from Lord Balfour. We want this to be internationally recognized because we're going to prepare to start doing settlements. And so they showed it. And then when they showed that, the Germans figured out what was going on, okay? Because the Germans were requested 2 times by, they had one direct meeting. The Kaiser himself had one direct meeting with Theodor Herzl, and Theodor Herzl, he's attributed with starting Zionism. He didn't really start Zionism. That's Moses Hess, which is much more like that's a much less known character. That's way more pivotal than Theodor Herzl. I mean, Theodor Herzl is pivotal to the actual establishment of Israel, but Moses Hess is the guy that like fucking derived functional communism and gave it to Karl Marx. I mean, communism really, like most people attribute communism as deriving from the French Revolution, but That's not really true. It's really like a biblical concept in a vague sense. And then Moses Hess, who's a like a rabbi, you know, like bloodline rabbi and a philosopher, uh, trained both in philosophy and economics, trained both Marx and Engels, which are historically like in the open in the like if you went to study like university and study communism, you learn about Engels and Marx. The regular world attributes them with coming up with it. They don't talk about Moses Hess. Moses Hess is like the big boy, the guy that came up with the fucking shit. Okay, so Germany sees the Balfour Declaration. The German delegates there at the Paris conference can deduce, I'm assuming probably like right away, depending on how big of dummies they are, they're going to deduce right away what was going on because they pretty much pull out like a hand receipt that says like IOU1 Palestine, love British cabinet, and then the Jews have it, and then the Jews approached the Germans twice and asked them for Palestine while they were winning the war, and the Germans didn't take it seriously. So that's the start of when the Germans start getting a little uppity. Okay, so but when you go forward to like 1918 and 1919, which is like technically like 1918, the war is still technically going on. Like Germany has had so many men like slaughtered in these fucking later battles, like they're just getting their shit pushed in. So and then they have like their actual empire is like starting to come down to a close. You have and before the Weimar Republic gets established, you have this entire revolutionary period. How that really starts in a kinetic sense is that you have the German naval fleet is like still docked at the end, and they're like done. Like they know that the war's over, and then the German naval fleet is like so patriotic that the high admirals for the German Navy are like, okay, boys, we know the war's over, but we got the Royal Fleet, the British Royal Fleet, like right out there. So we're just gonna go attack them one last time before the British are operating. The British are operating on the concept. They're like, yeah, we got it. It's like all in the bag. And the Germans have already said, they're like, yeah, you got it. Like we're done. And then the German Navy is like, one more time, right? They're like getting ready to go, and then so here's the deal, though, right? What's up, Colin? So here's the deal. The German Navy had a bunch of communist implants in it that were like knew about this mission, and then they caused a mutiny and they sabotaged it. Okay. Now, the actual dudes, this is where we get into like Dugan's opinion, because I'm not going to cite anything because I can't fucking remember these people's, how am I supposed to remember an entire phone book of names? But you can look it up. The German that's attributed with there were actually two mutinies. One of them was the first one was like the origin where they were like, the German Navy was like, well, shit, if everybody's not going to do this, then I guess we can't fucking go attack the Navy, you pussies, like, geez. And then the second one was like a big mutiny where, it resulted in like the abdication of the Kaiser and shit, and he had to flee to Holland. So, yeah. So there were Germans who were in they call them the Socialist Democratic Party of Germany, of Deutschland. Or somewhere thereabouts is what it's called. This is to be differentiated from the more hardcore communist German party. Oop. Hold on. Okay, guys, I'm back. So my mom got mad at me. She told me I can't do communist podcasts. Okay, I'm sorry about that. I apologize, seriously. For anybody that was watching this and then was like getting into it and then was like, oh yeah, okay, yeah, okay, yeah, Germans, naval fleet, and they were like, wait, what? That's fine. I apologize. Okay, so this is what was going on. The Germans had communist saboteurs, okay, but they weren't called communists, they're called socialists. Because here's the thing, right? Germany had no idea what communism was because communism didn't really exist. You get that? So it's like nowadays we know better, yet we're even more dumb and susceptible somehow. The Germans had a good excuse because they had never fucking seen this shit before. They don't even know what's going on. They think it's like organic. Like they think it's just like, well, I guess everybody just thinks that's a good idea, right? And so it caused the the Navy to think that they weren't unified, so they didn't do the attack, right? So they pull off the sneak attack that Germany was going to pull off one last time for the, Vaterland or whatever, for Deutschland, right? Like that's like the first. That's like the first, I would say, mark of communism in my book. Like the actual effect of what communism really is, which is a completely different entity than the way that it's defined in the dictionary, which is it's typically defined can somebody look up a pair of definitions of communism, like in a dictionary online, like whatever comes up. You should use Google search for this because that's what most people use, and you want to see what most people see when they type in the word communism, or even socialism, but specifically communism. Okay, here we go. Thank you, Colin. A theoretical economic system characterized by the collective ownership of property and by the organization of labor for the common advantage of all members. I think that's a pretty textbook, dry, representative example of what you would hear in school when they talk, like when they brainwash your children in school. This is what they tell them. Okay. That is not what communism is. A closer version of communism is this incident with the Navy, the German Navy in the end of World War I, where it's like nobody has any fucking idea what's going on. Everybody thinks that everybody's mad at each other. Like they're like, man, I guess we're not that unified after all. Like, wow, maybe I should really think about think things over, and just not act rashly, Meanwhile, while they're thinking about shit, they get everything stolen. That's communism. That's like that's like in terms of a functional role of what like a proletariat would observe, like somebody that lives in the host country that's receiving the gift of communism. That's what they're going to perceive, right? And then they're just going to have a pretty shitty time after that. But nobody had ever seen it before in a modern, like Germany was like the superpower before that, like even the United States had to reorganize industrial capacity to fight World War I. Germany was already there. Like Germany was before we did it and entered the war. Germany had like already done that. So Germany for like a short time was beating the United States in terms of like, how we are now, where it's like we're just fucking making everything, Trojacons and fucking lasers and fucking aircraft and sending fleets up straight to Taiwan's ass and stuff all the time, like no big deal. That's what Germany was doing, all this shit in World War I, before World War I. Okay, so this is the important thing. Yeah, and then they say in the history books, as Scott Chris says, a political theory derived. Talk about communism here. I think we're talking about communism, right? Or are you talking about socialism? Is that the socialism definition or communism? That's probably socialism. Political theory. Okay, I can't wait. All right, that's a definitional. That's a definition from like a web crawl. Should be owned and regulated by the community as a whole. Yeah. And sometimes it'll say something about goods and services. It'll say, yeah. Yep. Okay. So they always attribute it to Marx and Engels, but it's not from Marx, because Marx wrote the Communist Manifesto, which is like the published work, like the public published work for all this shit. But it's not from Marx. It's from before Marx. It's from like, I don't even know when. So here's you need to read a book. You can read a book if you want to read a really interesting book. I recommend reading, if you can find an English translated version, read a book called Rome and Jerusalem by Moses Hess. It should be like 1870 maybe. No, I don't get recognized in public. There was one time I was at SHOT and there was a fan, and I was like freaking out because I was doing a SHOT Show video and a bunch of shit was canceling, and I was like trying to find how to fill in the time, and I couldn't do it. And then I was like, have like my workbook out, like standing there on the side of a booth, trying to like unfuck my shit. And then somebody came up to me and they just like whipped around a corner. They're like, hi, dude, can we get on? And I was like, no, I'm busy. I can't. Like I was like freaking out. I felt really bad about it afterwards. I wish I would have given an autograph, but that's how it went. Yeah. Coincidentally, that's correct. Ford Rec 1 in G81. Coincidentally, Moses Hess is also the founder of Zionism. What's a derivation of Judaism? Never even been there. I don't know what you're talking about. Roman Jerusalem by Moses Hess. Moses. Last name Hess. 1800s. I gotta get some beer mouthwash real quick. Okay, sorry about that. I'm getting sidetracked here. I got to meet my critics, okay? I got to stay on topic. So in Germany, it was confusion, and what was going on was you had I believe it's called the SDP, which is like the Socialist German Workers' Party or whatever, Socialist Democratic Party in Germany, which was this underground. It was a underground organization that came out of what's it called, Leipzig, Germany, Leipzig. So. No, it's not the clash of ancient civilizations, is it? Is that what they call it? Is that like the subtitle? Yeah, Leipzig. Yeah. So Leipzig was like a in World War I was like that was like a hub for socialism coming into Germany. And the Germans were like not paying attention to shit. Like they didn't really view socialism as like a threat or anything. They were just like, you want what? Like you don't want imperial power and glory and dominance over the world. Okay, and what else? And then they just didn't even pay any attention to it. They're like, well, obviously this is never going to be a threat. No, not Edward Mengler. Moses Hess. Okay, so so the I need a whiteboard, guys. The uh, the Germans don't know shit about socialism. It's never really existed before. Um, the SDP is like gaining in strength. It within because Germans don't know anything about socialism or about its historical patterns, that like mechanical patterns of how it comes into to displace power. They're thinking that it's like 100% organic, like from the country. Like people just came up with the idea because there's some, like they had like took a nap during the day and thought about it and were like, wow, this would be a great idea. So they were like, so the Germans were like comparing this new socialism phenomenon to like the horror of World War One and how bad of an idea that was. Before World War One, they thought it was a great idea. They were like, well, I guess this, we're a great empire. This is what great empires do. And then like everybody died, and then and they're like, well, maybe that wasn't such a good idea. Maybe we should try this socialism. So then like Germans were like going and volunteering their allegiance to the Social Democratic Party, and this is like in Leipzig. That's also where you get the early founding of the Socialist Democratic Party tried to assassinate Kaiser Wilhelm the First, like the prior Kaiser, the Kaiser from World War One. They tried to assassinate his dad twice. Okay, one of the people that tried to assassinate him was in the same SDP that had the dad of Karl Liebknecht, that comes out of SDP and splits off and goes into the Communist Party with Rosa Luxemburg. This is a little bit later. This is like talking like a year later. So what happens is the organic Germans that live there, like that represent the population, that aren't from Leipzig and aren't from Jewish backgrounds, which is a little bit different. They start like trying to get into the socialist parties, and they get in, but then there's like strife within it. So they kind of, and then you start to see the by now it should be obvious, but I'll spell it out for anybody that doesn't understand or hasn't ever noticed this. So the way that communism works is that you always have the people who introduce communism are like, they'll stay a little bit in the back, and then they'll get the host nation people to be like the poster boys. So then everybody sees a familiar face, and then it makes the transition easier. So that was what was going on in Germany, but they never seen it before, so they didn't understand it. So they thought they were like, up front, like going to pull the country out of a terrible situation. Well, it didn't go so good. And you basically start getting a bunch of like synthesized protests and shit where they start taking over everything. The Germans, keep in mind that the Germans made a consolidated state under Bismarck, right? That would be like, what's his name? Otto Bismarck, which is like, he's attributed with the German Empire before it was an empire in the 1800s, after whooping up on the French, consolidated into a single state out of an entire array of small villages and dukedoms and kingdoms and shit, and they like all came together as Germanic people and made a nation state. This is like the proto current nation state model is like comes from Germany doing that, right? Like they had the states like the United States, and then they didn't make a country like the United States, but they made a country like all the European states are now, the German Empire. We just call it empire, and it's a little more, empire-y. So they do that, and then Otto consolidate. Bismarck consolidates Germany, and then you get the socialists get in there after World War One. They're fucking everything up. The Germans can't tell what's going on. They think it's just chaos because they suck. And then they're, so they're not like suspicious really. And then what happens is you get like some really drastic, like synthesized labor revolts and stuff. Not violent, really. Just you know, like power grabs. They're power grabs. They're taking like the labor force from that are organized to protect each other, and then they're just like trying to like swindle it under the socialist system to put it under control, which is what you want. Like you want top-down vertical integration and socialism. And so they were trying to maneuver that. The actual people in the Socialist Democratic Party were trying to do that, and it was foreign to the mechanical model of government, regardless of what it would be, that Germans had, because Germans had only had one empire, and they had never seen this shit. So they were like, they'd be like, now why? So do you get what I'm saying? Like there was hidden within the Social Democratic Party, because they hadn't come out yet. They wanted to make it look like it was a mass consensus among the German people, like they supported it. But they were also like, they knew what was coming up, right? Like they knew that how it was going to look if they got it. So they were like, well, we need to move now to consolidate and get vertical integration of the German militias, the labor force, like all the power that's in Germany, the actual power that's left over. We need to get that all vertically consolidated. But the Germans never found it like that. Like their militias were like a separate thing, similar to the United States. Not the same. It wasn't exactly the same. But their militias would like, hunt together, and they made up like the core of the, German men's strength. It was seen as more of like a rite of passage as a man, not as a government thing, right? Am I in here by myself? Or can you guys hear me? You can't hear me, right? Okay. So the Germans, while the Germans are trying to figure out what's going on, the socialists are trying to reorganize everything into vertical integration. And then you start getting like, there's an organic German party that's in a socialist party that tries to take over the Reichstag. And then the socialists don't like that because they don't want to go that hard yet, the actual socialists, And then so they kind of like negotiate between the two. And then it ends up being that Karl Liebknecht, he calls for like a big rally this is in Berlin. He calls for a big ass rally to support socialism. Well, by now, all the workers have talked to the militiamen, and they figured out that like these are fucking foreign interests and these are not German interests. So they have this thing called the Freikorps, which is German militia guys that are left over from World War One. So if you know anything about World War One and how fucking terrible it was, like everybody died, heinous deaths. So these dudes are like hardcore as fuck, right? Like they don't give a fuck about anything. So they grab out they've got a couple of nation or little armories for like civil whatever in their home stash and shit. And they just bust this stuff out. So they got their World War One uniforms, and they start painting skulls on everything. You know what I mean? So they're just going full on fucking Blackbeard, fucking Bloody Bill Anderson at this point. Painting skulls and shit. And then so Karl Liebknecht is like in the square. There's actually a video of it. You can find archival footage of Karl Liebknecht's speech, or like what lasted of it. It wasn't very long. And he's got like all these, he's got like a synthesized, he's got like a Social Democratic Party fake ass little pep rally going on. And then there's just like 100,000 Germans come with like rifles, and they just come and like stand around and listen to them. Like that's right. They didn't get violent. They just came there and brought all their fucking gear, and they're just gonna like stand there ominously. And Karl Liebknecht, I don't know what he said because they don't have any audio on the video, but I imagine it's something like, and then okay, yeah, you guys, I'm gonna go back here for a minute. You know what I mean? And and then. Yeah, but it didn't work, right? So then they start having this. There's kind of like an intimidation show of force by the Freikorps, and then you start getting like the socialists who have kind of swindled some power from the Germans. have some brigades and stuff, and they start fighting in the streets like over the next however long. I mean, I think it's like a course of a year or something. So if somebody can look that up and put that in comments, because I don't want to give bad info on time ranges, but I'm more of giving like an overview of how the general events would transpire. And so this whole time, everything feels like chaos because you have multiple, like you have organic German groups of men that are embedded into the Socialist Democratic Party that don't know that haven't figured out yet the socialists are bad news, are not representing German interests. They think it's organic German interests. And then you've got like the Freikorps, which is basically like pirates, but with like fucking machine guns and shit, and Mausers and wheel guns and shit and tanks. And they're like, just like slaughtering each other and stuff in the cities. It's kind of small scale, but it's just lots of machine gun fire and like people getting executed and shit. And so the Freikorps, and then Karl Liebknecht and Rosa Luxemburg are like, no, there's no railguns, as far as I'm aware. The fucking French nixed that shit and stole all that shit, I think. So the Freikorps, Rosa Luxemburg and Karl Liebknecht hide out in Berlin. They're hiding in some apartment somewhere through socialists. The Freikorps just go full on death squad mode. So they just start like, they figure out like, this is all pretty much continuous. So they're just like conducting, continuous hood operations, like talking to people like, where are the socialists at? And, they start like finding their hideouts, and they just start going in there and just fucking, they're executing everybody. It's like no, questioning none of this shit. They're just like, we go in there, we're gonna cordon off the building, go knock on their door, tell them it's room service, and then shoot them in the head. And then that's like, we're clearing like city blocks of socialists. And then and they look like, it's really the best picture. Now, for anybody that's watching this, that's like a modern day socialist or something, like a current, like a left leaning socialist. This has nothing to do with Nazism. What I'm talking about, the Freikorps really isn't even associated with Nazism. In fact, like the leaders of Freikorps, like burn out after Freikorps before the Third Reich even came, and didn't even get killed in the Third Reich or serve in the Third Reich. I mean, some of them did, but like most of them, like the dude. Okay, so the dude that got Karl Liebknecht and Rosa Luxemburg was named Pabst, like Pabst Blue Ribbon, and he led the raid where they went and got him, and then they crushed him and they beat him and then executed him, and they sent Karl Liebknecht to the morgue so that his buddies would pick him up at the morgue so they'd know he was dead for sure. And Rosa, they were just like, can't make a whole housewife, and then they just dumped her in the whatever river was there. And then I'm sorry, that was a terrible joke. That was insensitive. I shouldn't have said that. I just meant it like, you know what I mean? They're killing communists, and this is some gal that was going to take over Germany, and the Germans are masculine and women are feminine, and so they shot her and they threw her in a river, and then she. It's probably not totally a great idea, but so they shot her, they threw her in the river, and then they don't find her for like months. Like they recover her body like months later. She's probably pretty well decomposed by now. All unfortunate fates for everybody. That's kind of comes with the territory when you do a communist takeover. Be aware. So and that's and then Otto like pieced out after he was like I've done my service to the country. Now you guys can figure out. Then you have Weimar commence, right? Like, and it's kind of like the international, like the people that planned out the collapse of Germany and like what was going to come in Weimar, they already knew what was coming, and they know that Germany's not going to get out of it. So they don't give a fuck about this, right? Like, I mean, it's kind of a setback, but they're like, okay, we'll just get them extra hard when we get them. And so they just, they're like, hit them with the Weimar. They give them the Weimar, and then they get, that's where you get Hitler comes out of, you know what I mean? Because things got even worse in Weimar in terms of destruction of the society, degradation of their cultural, historical values and things like that, like polar opposites, radical change that caused people to search for extremes. That's why Nazism comes about. Nazism couldn't have come about right after World War I, like directly after. It had to have all that time to cook. Now, the situation with Paris, where I told you about how the Balfour Declaration, so that would have been like German diplomats of the old German Empire, and so they were like, the Freikorps was a militia, but they were like, their position was like, we used to have a government, we don't have a government anymore, and but we don't have anything. In the alternative socialism, we're not going to do that. So this is like, we're still loyal to the old, we're loyal to the Kaiser, even though he's in Holland winging it, they're just like, this is for whatever. We're just not going to let communists take over. And then the socialists had a bad time. Now, it's important to note too that the socialists, modern socialists, really like Karl Liebknecht and Rosa Luxemburg. I don't know why, because it's an incredible. To me, their legacy. Like if you read the story of that, it's nothing but dishonesty. Like it's just lie. Like they don't represent Germany. They're liars. They come in there and try to deceive Germany, and then they fucking try to trick everybody and steal the country, and then they get their asses handed to them once they get figured out. So I don't think that that's very noble, regardless of how you feel about communism. I also don't think that communism is even real, like in terms of what if you're a socialist, a modern socialist, and you think that socialism is like the vanilla ice cream to the chocolate version of like capitalism, then you don't really know much, because that's not what it is. So and neither is capitalism, by the way. But we got Rosa and Carl. They died. Freikorps. Yeah, and that's really that's like the surprising thing is that I could never understand socialists other than urbanites. Like urbanite. So when you sociologically structure and economically structure people who live in a dense urban environment, then they completely rely on everything that they use all the time. And I think that my theory is that has a powerful effect on, going up against the grain on the system. And the power system wants socialism. So the people that live in urban areas will just automatically do socialism. But if the power system wanted them to be Nazis, they'd be fucking Nazis. Like they'd be on TV crying about how, people oppress Nazis instead of talking about socialism. Like they don't even fucking know what socialism is. Their books, the definitions that they're reading are the ones that you guys read off in the chat. That isn't even correct. Like on the source, like attributing socialism and communism to Karl Marx. It's not Karl Marx. Karl Marx is an errand boy, a Jewish errand boy, by the way. If you don't know, Karl Marx is Jewish. He learned socialism from Moses Hess. Moses Hess is not only Jewish, he's a rabbi. He's a Talmudic rabbi. Socialism, in its creation, is a Jewish concept. There are rabbis from hundreds of years that have talked about the concept of Jubilee and land return stuff and sharing, and the concept of like a general parallel model of what you would consider the concept of communism. The only difference is that it doesn't have anything to do with you, right? It's like for them, it's not for you. So, so that's, am I missing anything there that's like really significant? Not really. So Gerald Dartson, this is a good question. Let's talk about this. You guys will like this. Gerald Darden, sorry, I'm a butcher of names. Wasn't Israel on friendly terms with the Soviet Union during the Cold War? No. So, well, I mean, early, not late. Like once Stalin gets in there and Stalin does his purges, so you have multiple phases of the Soviet Union when they go through the like war communism phase where they're going into expansion and shit. Then you get Stalin in there, and Stalin's like, he's going along with it so far. Now Stalin got. This is another thing you're just gonna have to try to find out. I tried to find a source, I can't ever find it. I've read it before in a print book that I read like years ago. I can't even remember what the book is called. Stalin was in some factory in Georgia that was owned by the Rothschilds. That's where Stalin worked before he became Stalin, and then joined the Bolshevik Party, where he rose to the top through the years, and then eventually became enemies with Trotsky. Trotsky's real name is Levi Bronstein, and Stalin, at least on the public level, at least like historically, has nothing to do with Judaism, but he was associated with Rothschild plants in Georgia in terms of his employment. Now, when Joseph Stalin takes over the Soviet Union, and then there's some Jews that don't like it. Now, if you didn't know this, there are quite a few Jews that ran the Bolshevik Party, and there's just no way around that. Like sometimes you'll say that, and people will be like, no, and it's like, maybe you should look into it. I'm not gonna talk about it. I'm not gonna go into it. You guys can comment. You guys can make comments in here about the positions of the people that ran Bolshevism. So Bolshevism won out over Menshevikism. The Mensheviks literally means the Mensheviks are the minority party and the Bolsheviks are the majority party, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know anything about George Lincoln Rockwell. I don't have high opinions of either capitalism or socialism. I think it's a false dichotomy. All right. Yeah, Holodomor is a whole different story. So Holodomor, we're not going to get into until we do like a solid socialism block, just because it needs to have due justice, because nobody knows about Holodomor, and it's one of the most terrible. Could you tell me the figure of the second Holodomor, like the one they actually call Holodomor? How many people starved to death in that? Please, could you put that in the comment? It was 30 mil. In the second one, I'm just talking about the first one. They had two. They had one that was multi-mil in the 20s, and then they had one that everybody calls Holodomor. 30 mil in the latter one. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I don't doubt it. That's not. Is it 60 mil or 30 mil? What do they say? What are the people that write in Wikipedia that when people go look it up are going to see? What number are they going to see? It says 4 million on Wikipedia. There's no way that's 4 million. That's not correct at all. At least 1 million in the first. Yeah. No, it's multi-million in the first, and it's way more in the second. It's like, I think it's like 10 million in the second one. Okay. So they're pretty, yeah, they have like a revised version, because basically what's happened is that when they say 20 million or whatever, or 60 million, which very well could be, I'm not saying that it's not that, guys. But when that happens, nobody in the world wants anybody to know about Holodomor, because it fucking trumps everything, because it's like the worst fucking human crisis that's happened in the last 100 years. So they'll be like, well, let's bring it down to 10 just to be sure. And then they're like, okay, well, it was definitely 10. So they bring it down to 10. So you can say 10. You can say 10 million and nobody can fault you. So 10 million Ukrainians starved to death in Ukraine, if you didn't know that. And what happened in the second one, right? They did this twice. The first time that they starved them was during the war communism phase, when they were like expanding the Soviet Union, the Civil War phase, when they were still fighting the divisions of the Russians that were in different political ideologies before the communism had like really, the Bolshevik party had really taken hold. And then in the fighting, like they destroyed a bunch of supply lines and stole food, and like it ended up causing like a whole fucking destabilization of Ukraine in the food supply, and then millions of people starved to death. That was the first one. Then you had, for the other one, that was straight up, the second one that people call Holodomor, that was straight up the first major export of the Soviet Union. So the Soviet Union went into Ukraine because Ukraine is considered the breadbasket of Eastern Europe. Like, it has the most fertile soil in high concentration. So they always grow like heavy amounts of food produce for whoever is ruling over them at a given time. So the Soviet Union just went in there and fucking stole all their shit and locked them down, and then sold that shit to Britain. And then Britain bought it, and then Britain sold it to the United States. And then the United States ate it. That's what happened with all fucking Ukraine's food. And then fucking, probably we know that 10 million people died of starvation, like children starving to death, like having like, no food in their stomachs, and parents cannibalizing their kids, eating children and shit. Like, we know that this shit happened. There's plenty of pictures of it. I'm sure that it was 30 million, Squatch. I get it. I'm not trying to minimize Holodomor. What I'm saying is that I'm making a video here that a bunch of people are just going to watch to try to criticize. And so I'm not going to give them any ammunition. So I'm just going to say 10 million. 10 million is a shitload of fucking people. If you had 10 million people, no worries. I didn't mean it like that. I'm sorry. I got to give a disclaimer pretty much every video. When I'm doing these things, I'm just flowing. So if I come off like aggressive, it's no, like, I don't even mean that. It's just my personality. I apologize if I came off aggressive. Yeah. Okay. Here, this is getting back on the topics. This Edwin is talking about Stalin went through a number of purges, mass deportations, the Kulaks, the Ukrainians, the Chechens, Tatars, English. Yeah, this is all correct. So the thing that happened, you got to understand what happened, right? So Stalin wanted to have, it's the exact same thing as Germany. The Jews started the Bolshevik movement, right? The Jews tried it before they did the Russian Revolution. They tried it before and failed, and they all got expelled from Russia. And the Tsar was like nixing that shit. He was like, nope, everybody's getting kicked out, and you fuck off. And then they had to hang out outside of Russia for a long time until the World War I gave them an opportunity to stabilize everything, because they got so many Russian soldiers killed. And then that's when they go to do the coup, and then they have the Civil War with the whites and the greens and all that. And yeah, there's 1905. Now, there's also a prior one in there, 1895 as well, or 1890 rather. Failed revolution, or failed like small coup against the Tsar. There should be multiple iterations, right? Like, it's not just like one trial, it's multiple trials. Just like in Germany, there were multiple trials, right? Like, there was, two guys in a month both tried to kill Kaiser the First. Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's right. Yeah. So where were we going with this? With Holodomor, we got that. And then I started answering somebody else's question. Oh, purges. Yeah. So Stalin, have a good night, Eric. Thanks for coming. So Stalin was getting freaked out that the Jews were after him, basically. Because Stalin was, I don't know if Stalin was a Jew or not, but he wasn't as Jewish as the people that he was trying to work against. And they're pretty smart dudes. So he got pretty paranoid and, just fucking killed everybody. Like, everybody and their mothers. And for multiple waves, like every, I don't know how many major wave, like the red wave or whatever they call it, the death wave, like how many I know he did two like huge waves, and a majority of you like oh, he spoke Yiddish. Yeah, okay, yeah. So he was a Jew, but he had a disagreement with Trotsky. Like Trotsky got sent to Mexico, and then somebody killed him. And they say that it's like one of Stalin's boys that went over and killed him with an axe pick in the 50s. Ironically, also, so Mexico, if you didn't know this, is like a Mexico. I'm not working on music right this minute. Mexico is like the There's a bunch of SF, like there's a lot of SF in Mexico nowadays, if you didn't know that. And like, you know, little stuff going on. Like it was established from back then with all the communists going there, right? Like post Pancho Villa stuff. Yeah. So Stalin's doing his purges, and I think we're not doing a full communism unit of uh, opening up the jar and looking inside. You know what I mean? We're just kind of talking about it. I know. So the yeah, SS special. Yeah, sorry, Drew. Yeah. So like in the 90s and 80s, like the special forces and the operations, because of all the, so that South America had a ton of civil wars going on because they were getting guns and money from somewhere that was stimulating them into civil conflict. They had like a ton of little civil wars fighting for power. That's where you get the establishment of the cartels, by the way, is out of that. That's like the outcome of that. They existed before, but they weren't like completely established like they are now. Like right now, it's like going and staying in an apartment building when you're a cartel. It's like, yep, I'm on room, 2A, and that's El Chapo was here before me, but then I took his place. That's how well it's established now. It wasn't established like that back then. They're still duking it out. I'm not going to speak on behalf of SF dudes. They can speak on behalf of themselves. But I know that like all that shit started with the state, all those little conflicts down there, El Salvador, Guatemala, of course, everything else that you know about. Yeah, I know about the notification, guys. I can't do anything about it. YouTube has this channel stuck on Made for Kids, and then when you go to the like the list of shit, you go into YouTube and it's like change your options and shit. Like I go to Google and I search like how do I turn the fuck off Made for Kids, and then it'll pop up like a picture and stuff with like a button that says go to this option for your channel and scroll out, and then you'll see it, and it's like that's not even on my phone. Like it doesn't exist. Like it's not there. Everything else is there, and then that isn't even there. So like I can't click it. Do you think this is kid material? I would consider it's not made for kids, but I don't. I mean, it's not like I really care. Well, good for you, son. Good looking out. Good looking out for your country. Yeah, I know. Kevin Murphy says if I had kids, I'd let them watch. Yeah, I know, because it's difficult. I mean, what do you even do with kids? Like, I'm serious. My children are still they're younger to go to school. They're not going to school yet. I am not going to send my children to school. Like, I'm not going to send my children to a public school or anybody that doesn't know what's going on, because it's ridiculous. Like, you'd have to. What are you, crazy? I'd rather let my kid go outside and go play in trees all day than send him to fucking school. Yeah. Of course, homeschooling, right? Yeah, of course you teach them everything, But they don't really teach the real things that kids need to learn in school. Like, I don't even mean besides education. I mean just like being a man, doing what you say you're gonna do, and trying to, not say it if you're not gonna do it and shit like that. Let's see. No, I think so. Dave Coop asked me, do you think World War III could pop off in Venezuela? Anything's possible. I believe that South America is the like underdagger for after the main threat comes. Like I think everything that's going on in South America is like getting set up. Like the stimulation of the South American countries is for a secondary assault into the United States, and everything else fails. Or if they want to like humiliate the United States and really fuck us. Like if we start losing, but then we've still got some resistors, like depending on how, I don't know when the end phase is going to happen. I will tell you this. To add to mac and cheese, broccoli, probably. I will tell you this. Whatever this whole thing is going to happen, is going to happen within 10 years. Like you're not going to go longer than 10 years before this is like well on the way and culminated, like near culminate. Or I don't know if it's going to culminate. I don't know how long a culmination is going to be. That could be a long time. It could be like a very long, way longer than World War II. Because this is like the all in. This is not like World War I and World War II. This is like the last stage. Like if we fuck this up, we might not get another chance. So everybody's going all in. This is like probably a multi-generational war that's coming up. By the way, this ain't gonna be like, you know, going in 1945 and then popping out right after. You know, I'm not wrong. I know exactly what the fuck I'm talking about. You can watch it happen, and then while you're watching it, you can write. Hey, Dugan, turns out you were right on a paper airplane and throw it. There's not gonna be a fucking Pony Express anymore. Yeah. Okay. So the here I'll tell you why. Now this is unrelated. Okay. So anybody that's watching this that just came into the channel and doesn't know, you know what, I'm not anti-Semitic because I love Arabs. Okay. I'm just kidding. I'm not anti-Jewish is what I'm trying to say. So if you're in here, if you're a Jew, don't freak out. I'm not anti-Jewish. But I'm not gonna give you any fucking break either, you slag bastards. So okay, good. As long as you know. So the reason that you're gonna have 10 years is because if you're not aware of this, if you don't know anything about Judaism, like we are in the Messianic era. So I don't want to try to explain that to you, what the Messianic era is, but it's kind of a big deal. So you're in the Messianic era. It has started, and you've got you basically got 200 and less than 220 years now until the Messianic process is complete to like the end of the 6,000 years period. And so when you do a bunch of math, and it's variable who you're talking to, but you basically got like a 10-year interval before this whole thing has to kick off big. You know what I mean? Like you got 10 years until the Mashiach has to reveal himself, and then you know, then we'll see what happens. It's gonna be pretty interesting. And if you don't know what I'm saying, if you're non-Jew, so if you're not a Jew, and you're like a regular, you know, goy American, and you don't read books and shit, and you just eat McDonald's all the time, then you're gonna have a surprise. But like, you're gonna be in for a little surprise coming up here. It's gonna get interesting for you in your latter part of your life. But Dugan, what the hell are you doing? It doesn't matter if people are waking up. I mean, it does matter. Everything matters. Everything that you do matters. People have no idea what the fuck is going on. I can't even hardly explain it to you. Basically, here, I'll try to explain it to you, okay? I'm going to explain it to you. If the Jews are in here, don't get fucking offended by what I'm saying, okay? Don't get hoity and be like, dude, speaking on behalf of Jews, like we need to take him out. Don't fucking say that. I'm just trying to fucking help people understand what's going on. So right now, so you have a messianic prophecy that's being fulfilled. Simultaneously, you also have a bunch of Zionist Jews that are just trying to fulfill it, doing regular ass people skills instead of like divine shit. Okay, so you have, and it's working. So they're fulfilling the prophecies by the list, which is significant. So it's a significant thing that's going on. So you're in concurrent time, like now, and they're both happening in parallel. So the real Mashiach is probably here and is not revealed. And then there's a fake process that's all materialist based, and it's a bunch of Jews that aren't following the book, and they're pushing it through like going for a touchdown concurrently, and they probably don't even believe in the Mashiach, or I don't fucking know. I'm not going to speak for them. They can speak for themselves, but they're not going to, because they're secret Jews. But they're trying to push the parallel version of the messianic end game by just fucking everybody's shit up. And if the real Mashiach comes, it's going to get interesting. That is what's fucking going on. If you want to know, if you want to know the bullshit, you go turn on the fucking news. If you want to know what's really going on, you talk to Dugan. Okay, I'll tell you what's going on. I don't hold back. You got a fake Mashiach and a real Mashiach, and they're fucking doing a race right now, and it's all for the Jews, and the Jews don't know what the fuck. They're like, whatever, everybody's gonna get a big surprise. I'll tell you that. That's my feeling. Regardless of what you believe, I think that if I was the creator of the world right now and looking at, regardless if you're a Muslim, Jew, or Christian, or atheist, or agnostic, if I was God, looking through everyone's eyes at what each other are doing right now in the world, I would be like, I'm going to give you motherfuckers a little surprise. That's what I would do if I was God. I'm not God, and I'm pretty dumb. So maybe he won't do it. I don't know. Who knows? I'm just saying. There's a lot of injustice in the world, and everybody is feeling it, and we're about to get the culmination of it. Yeah, so the Mashiach. So the Jews all over the world in all kinds of different states of spiritual fulfillment right now, ranging in everything from, you've got the dude that runs black.com that is making like interracial gangbang pornography. That's also an Orthodox Jew, that puts pictures of him at the Western Wall, while simultaneously trying to get black.com is essentially it's a Jew trying to serve the idol of sex to European culture just to destroy it. I mean, if you didn't know that, that's what's going on. People that are falling for it are, I mean, it's an unfortunate situation, but so you've got stuff like that, and then you've got all the way to Orthodox Jews that are anti-Israel and that are waiting for the real Mashiach to come so that we can all have totalitarian world government, I guess. Or I don't know what I doubt true toward Jews. I don't know. I'm not gonna fucking speak for them. They won't talk to me about it. They're not gonna fucking talk to you about it. We'll get to see what happens. No, it's you guys, when I'm talking about interracial porn and stuff like that, I'm not saying it like a judgment, like you're gonna do what you're gonna do. Okay, there's consequences to everything that you do. There is nothing that happens in a vacuum. Everything is butterfly tied together. Okay, I'm not saying it like a judgment, like you need to feel bad because you do such and such. Okay, I'm saying that this is what's going on, and that there are a lot of in my opinion, I'm not from, Queens, from a Yiddish Orthodox Jew background, but I've read a couple sentences out of the Tanakh and shit, and I would consider that the guy that's doing black.com is he's not being a light under the nations. I'll just put it that way. He's being like a fucking black hole under the nations. For black people and white people. I don't mean that like a white supremacist thing for any dull person that's watching this that doesn't even fucking know what's going on. You should go. You ever talk to him? Duncan says he can walk 500 feet to his Hasidic Jews home. You ever talk to him? You should talk to him sometime and just see what they think. about stuff in general. Don't be combative. Be polite. Always treat people with respect. Treat the strangers with respect. Stop apologizing. What was was I fucking apologizing here? Yeah, I mean, if somebody spits on you, you know, then that's a different story. But if you're just like talking to somebody, don't be prejudiced against people. That's not what everybody's here for a reason. What do you Boogie 1776 Big Igloo says, Dugan, what about hypno porn that's poison? Well, number one, I don't know what hypno porn is because I don't watch porn. I know about what black.com it is because all you idiots are probably watching it all the time. So fucking, I see it all over the place on comments and shit on Reddit and wherever else I go. Yeah, let's go deep, Colin. Can we? May I please? We can talk about porn if you want. Now, I'm not saying that when I talk about porn and I'm saying all that stuff, you know, like my negative outlook on porn. I don't say this stuff as like judgmental. Like I'm not going to judge you, okay? I've seen porn before, okay? I'm a man. I don't think that it's right to watch. The reason being is that I do not want to have. I am not working my, you know, like spending my limited time on this earth before I die to raise children so they can go suck on or whatever the hell porn stars do. And I don't want to, and I'm not like here to, you know, go care, you know, have my mother get old and then me have to care for her and then worry about her health or something because of, you know, economic situations that put her into, you know, having to be a porn star or whatever, you know, like that's my perspective on it. It's not a judgment thing against people like you're bad because you watch porn. I think a lot of people watch porn. I'm saying that, you know, you should think about it and how if it's fulfilling or not. I don't think that it's. I think it's a destructive vice, and I don't think it's. I don't think it's a positive thing. I also think it's economically driven. Like I don't think people really make the mistake that they think they like watching porn because they're just like that's just the flavor of ice cream that I like. It's like you don't get it, man. Like everybody likes sex. That's how we procreate. We're all wired like that. Porn is a engineered hyperstimulation that's number one, it makes you think the wrong way because a person shouldn't think lustful. And once you think lustfully, it takes a lot of work to get back to where you're thinking cognitively and rationally and objectively. And I know that because it's like when I went through puberty and stuff, you know, I was lustful, of course. I don't feel like you know, I'm pretty good now. I mean, every once in a while, you know, I'll look at a pair of oranges on the table the wrong way, and I'll be like, no, I'm just kidding. No, I'm pretty good now. I don't really have much of an issue now, but I struggle with it. You know, trying to keep my thought clean internally, not what I'm doing. I'm not like going around slapping people in the butt or anything. I'm just saying that the like internally, like there's a difference, right? There's a difference between number one, I'm not gonna go around judging because I like I should be judged for my lust, right? But you know, I'm just saying this as like if it helps somebody, if it can help you. How do you keep clean thoughts? I think about like creation and life and the relationship between like how the generations go. If I see somebody that like when I was younger, if I saw a beautiful woman, then you know you'd be tempted into lust. Nowadays, when I see a beautiful woman, like I think about like you know her future generations. That's what I do, and I don't ever go there in my head. I don't know. I don't know any. I've never met Sam Hyde. I've seen some of the video. I think some of the stuff's funny. The failed coup attempt to come with Venezuela. I just didn't know about it. I don't watch the news. I'm sorry. I would talk about Venezuela failed coup. I mean, I'm sure they have all kinds of shit going on in South America right now. let's see. Would you guys could you guys excuse me for one moment, please? Probably like 2 minutes. I listen to Peer Shift sometimes, but I don't really believe in money anymore. Okay, I'm gonna. If you guys will excuse me for just one moment, you guys can hang out, talk amongst yourselves. Maybe I'll show you this Chinese drill here. We can talk about that or something. Here, you like this back here? How do I do this? Can you see that? How the fuck? How do I get this on? I can't even do this. Okay. So, brush pop. I could, except for I've got kind of a lot of holes in my garage from running my lawnmower into it. I have like a wicked piece of metal hanging off. Here, I'll give you a garage pop. Here. Let me open my garage door. Okay, can you guys even see? Okay, here we go. Garage pop. Oh shit! All I can see my shed. I don't want to shoot my shed. It wasn't even. Did you see that? There wasn't even around in there. There you go, garage pop. And for anybody that's watching this video that just came in here, this is an airsoft rifle. This is not like there's no violation of terms or anything like that. It's airsoft. phone. Yeah. This is what. You see that? I can't even. Where's my phone? There it is. That's the gun. You see what gun that is? It's an airsoft rifle. Okay, so we talked about the. I want to reel it back in a little bit and spike you guys with some more propaganda. Okay. Okay. So the reason that I wanted to talk about the German, like the Freikorps and the German commie revolution, like the simulated commie revolution. This dip. I need to have like a constant. How do I make like YouTube put a bubble up here that's like, I dip Copenhagen. I like M4s. I like all this shit. I'm sorry. I'm just teasing you. Everybody asks me every day. You shouldn't start chewing tobacco if you don't chew it. Don't do it. I don't recommend it. I recommend that you put chewing tobacco in a bug out bag so you can stay awake at night. Yeah, with all the questions. There's like I worked in a store one time, and then they moved locations, and then everybody was like used to the old location, and it took them fucking 2 years for people to stop coming in and asking like, "Why'd you move? How you like your new place?" And it's like, we just need to buy a fucking sign and put it in here. It says like, "Hi, welcome to the store. We like where we're at. We moved fucking 2 years ago." Okay. I'm reeling you guys in. Okay. We are talking. I want to drive on the point. So the point of talking I want to talk about why we were talking about the revolution, right? Because it didn't just happen in Berlin, like where Rosa Luxemburg and Karl Liebknecht were, and they got holed up and then murdered. That is not the only place that is happening, right? That's what's in the like. It's almost hard to find. It's most people don't even know about the failed German Revolution. Most of the people that know about the failed German Revolution are communists. Like modern socialists will know about it, they're what do you call that? They think about they think about them like martyrs. That it didn't just happen there; it happened in a bunch of other towns. So it was like all of them. It was like Munich, all of them. Karl Liebknecht and Rosa Luxemburg were just like the heads that kind of sifted to the top, but it didn't start like that, right? Like it started in its infancy with the Navy. You had like frontmen that didn't know what the fuck was going on. They were just like, yeah, socialism, bro. And then they would have been like the frontmen. And then over time, as shit got like crazy, you get Rosa Luxemburg and Karl Liebknecht shifting to the top, right? But even when they died, that it wasn't over. The Freikorps had to go through and fucking clean out all these towns because they had like communist takeovers in every single. They established at least 3 non-recognized countries that aren't that were never like internationally recognized, like the what is it called, like the Balsam communist state. They had that. They had like, I mean, I know it was in Munich. I mean, it was like at least like 5 or 6, and they were literally making like countries, like communist countries in Germany. So, like, and they don't talk about that a lot. So it was like, it wasn't just going on in Berlin. There was like a coordinated changeover through all of Germany, and they had never seen communism before, so they had no fucking clue what was going on. And Yeah, and so like, and history books won't tell you about this. So like, I'd be surprised if they tell you that, even if you're in like a liberal history class where they're like praising communism and talking about the German Revolution. I'd be surprised if they told you about all the like micro communist states that came up in Germany from that simultaneously came up. No, they accomplished it with money, because they're just dumping in money because it's from the banks. Because I'm trying to tell you guys that communism is the banks. It's not people. There's nothing to do with people. It's not organic. It's never organic. It's never, nobody ever sat around taking a dump and was like, communism seems like a good choice. It doesn't even, it can't even exist on its own. No, it's banks. It's not corporations. Corporations are also the banks, under the banks. Am I an intelligence officer? No. I'm a dumb person. I'm a dumb man. I'm not very intelligent at all. Definitely not an officer. If I was in intelligence, I'd be like the E1, and I'd fucking stay there, because they'd be like, "Dude, you want a promotion?" And I'd be like, "Okay, you can stay as an E1." Okay. Okay, so what do you guys want to talk about now? Wait, no, I want to talk about something. That's what it was. So we got the point about all the microstates, right? And how independently, like simultaneously, not independently, simultaneously, they were all coming up at the same time, right? So the Freikorps then had to like travel through all these towns and fucking kill all these people. A lot of them were Germans that got paid to set the shit up. And then they had like maybe one or two foreigners that didn't really belong there, that were coming in, that were like the intelligentsia of the German communist population. But they would be Germans. Like they would be born in Germany. They'd just be from like the cosmopolitan German areas, Leipzig and shit. And then they would come down there to embed. But they weren't culturally German, right? Like they were foreign. They had foreign culture and foreign logic mechanics and stuff that weren't German. Like German's pretty fucking like hi-ho dill down the middle for 1,000 years, like there's not much complexity going on there in terms of they're pretty straight up people. So if you're looking at the situation, I'm trying to train you how to think actually, and not under a like a propagandized, synthesized condition that inevitably trains you into like controlled, bracketed thought. So if that's what happened there, and then if you had like basically the same thing that happened simultaneously in Russia, and then you should look at the mechanics of it, and you should look at the United States, because this is what's happening in the United States. Okay? It's happening very slowly. Do you guys know that? Like, do you understand what I'm saying? It's not happening violently like whoops, here we go. The reason it's not happening violently is because all of you motherfuckers got rifles. What? I'm getting so many answers on here. Okay. Just need McDonald's. No, it's not creeping. It's staged. Duncan. Duncan, Idaho. This is a good point. He says creeping Marxism, and that's a good point. But I want to try to redirect that. Don't think of it like creeping Marxism. Think about it like staged Marxism, right? But you shouldn't even think about staged Marxism. You should think about staged communism. And by stage, I mean like when you got to move a bunch of shit. You're not going to grab, like if you got like if you load up in your car 500 pounds of goods and you got to get it in your house. You're not going to try to carry 500. I mean, some of you Hulk motherfuckers going to just fucking throw that shit up like it ain't no thing. But Most of us are going to grab it one package at a time. We're going to go put, 50 pounds here, 50 pounds there, stack it up and stage it. We're not going to go through the door because we don't want to like open the door 1,000 times. So we're going to stage it by the door. Then we're going to open the door. Then we're going to fucking start bringing in packages, right? Now this is just an analogy, but this is what I mean by staged communism. It's like in staged phases. So like everything gets brought up to the front and prepared at the farthest line of advance, because that's the most efficient, right? You get the most efficient right there. Then you've got like a threshold, like a door. That would be like your first opposition or like whatever it is that is going to happen with resistance, right? Well, then you have events go off that let you pass each threshold, and then you go to the next staged event. And so that's the analogy of like, you bring a bunch of weight in from your car, each threshold that you have to go to get in your house and into the fridge to put your food away or whatever, you're going to stage it. That way you're not trying to walk through the doorway like a dummy with 500, grocery bags or whatever, where dildos or whatever you're taking to your house. Okay? Yeah, to bypass the Constitution, exactly. Yeah, the problem with all this stuff, the way that, like, if we're talking about the United States, but it's anything, it's the same thing with Russia. The way that Russia happened was that they killed the czar. They had a top-down consolidated czarist regime that had been ruling because they were just, if anybody fucked with them, they just kicked their ass. And then everybody was like, yep, that's my boss, And then they killed him. Well, now they just have this vertically integrated stack of power that was just like, let me put my cup under that and catch it. And then they could just take it and go with it, right? And then they got all the money from the Western bankers, like the communist revolution, like the Bolshevik revolution proper is funded almost entirely by Schiff family and like Warburg family. Who is this person that says later K? Are you saying that we're K, that I'm K? I'm not K. Yeah, if you don't know who the Schiff family is, I don't look it up. I'm not going to explain that right now. They're a prominent New York family, and there's entire document records of them funding the fucking revolution. It's all there. It's not like conspiracy theory. You're just an idiot. You don't know anything if you don't know about that. So then somebody asked earlier, hold on, well, it's shift. It's not shift. SCHIFF. What are you guys even talking about? Are we talking about communism here, or what? Who are these people? What are you talking about? All right, I'm just gonna pause your. Okay, Wyatt wants me to keep on going. Thanks, Wyatt. I like Wyatt's comment because it's keep on going, and that's exactly what the fuck I wanted to do. So I'm gonna pause your comments and just start talking. I don't know the spree killers. I don't know. That's really complex. There has to be. I think the spree killers have to be ideological. I don't think it's a mind control thing. I think it's an ideological driven. I think there is a connection. Meat supplies, yeah. Okay. Squatch wants to know about meat supplies. So the thing with meat supplies, like, so I'm in Missouri, and I work with cattle farmers and stuff. So if you didn't know this, when this COVID-19 stuff came, there were people that are subsidized by the government and they're farming, got like recommendation letters from like CDC affiliates, like not even CDC, like CDC affiliates, like just giving them preparatory warning of like, hey, you may want to consider in the future, you know, there may be some shit going on. You may want to consider like culling a bunch of your cattle and shit. So that happened a lot of different places. It happened with like chicken farmers, and I know like I heard about it for a chicken farmer and a meat farm. This would be in like the last month or 2 months. So, and then if you didn't know, like there was like the egg shortage, right? That was done by they claimed that it was from switching out going from 12 packs to 18 packs, and people ordering 18 packs, and so they didn't have like residential grocery store 12 packs, which is like most common, most people purchase. But there's no reason to even switch. So it's like they just created the supply shortage by changing the packaging in the queue of like what they're shipping out. And then it came down into the grocery stores, and then they didn't have any eggs, and all the egg prices went up. They're not actually short on eggs, at least at this time. They could go short. They could just cull chickens and go short on eggs if they wanted to. Like I'm telling you, you guys are not fucking prepared for what is coming. You don't understand. It's so like they're like the people that are doing this are stretching their legs right now, getting ready to fucking break it off in your ass. I think gun control is a myth. I think it's like a psychological game, honestly. Because what's my end game? I'm gonna probably die someday, I would guess. Probably gonna die in a noble, messy death with no glory. The good shortage. Well, there's not really. The good shortage is a like all this stuff has been. Yeah, it is designed, but it's not even that bad. Like all this stuff that's going on right now is like dry run. They're not actually like there is no shortage. Like nobody's dying or like towns aren't running out of food. They've changed things around, and they've changed the logistical red tape around, and that's caused like tangential shortages. But it's because they're finishing consolidating all the things that they can, you know, all the tools in the handbag for like whatever they got to do to put pressure on people. What's a coat hanger mean? I don't even know what that is. Coat hanger Diaz? I've never tried one. Oh shit, does have a bird fly out? Hey, get down. There's a bird coming over here. Jumping up there on the line. So when I was talking about the German Revolution, right? The German Revolution, the tactics that are used in terms of like putting other people up front and then doing the old sleight of hand where you switch them out. That also happened in Russia. Like the Bolsheviks didn't expose themselves as being like the powerhouse of the communists until all their rivals were dead in the Russian Civil War. You know what I mean? Like they were the heavy hitters, but they were exposed and kind of vulnerable until they, you know, confused everybody in Russia so much that they were successfully able to kill off all of their, like Russia almost had a constitutional government. You get that? Russia, when Bolshevism was competing for Russia after the Tsar died, there was an entire party that was had a constitution that was designed after the United States, and they fucking lost. But my point is that this is a recurring tactic, right? Like you'll get a bunch of destabilization. The people that are part of it, the people that know what's going on, because information is power. So if you know the plan, and your boys are on the outside and they're working from the outside and you're working from the inside, then all you got to do is stay low while everybody else dukes it out and kills each other. And then you, like, once you're clear, then you come up and you already know the game plan. And then they bring in your supplies and shit and all your funding. And then everybody's poor by that point because they wasted all their money on bullets killing each other. And they're all tired and shit. And then you come up and you're fresh and you're like, here we go. That is how a communist revolution works. It's not like the people getting up and, you know, having a good idea. How does this benefit banks? Because the entire construction. So David Kopp asks, how does this benefit the banks? It doesn't. Money is fake. The banks are the tool to introduce the economic stimulation in order to cause the changes, the rapid destabilization, like civil war and things like that. The entire point of it is to steal away the organic power, the powerhouses out of countries. So whoever it is, like whoever's independent, if you're in a country and you're independent and you have real independence and power and like the people are consolidated, that is what the money injection is for. The United States has skipped this the entire time that we've been here because we've been being used as the hammer. So like as long as you're the hammer, that's the most useful tool, right? Like if you're a big ass powerful country and your like most useful purpose is to like go and fuck up other countries, then you're like, I mean, that's what you're there for. They're not going to destabilize you. Once they're done with that, now it's like you're a threat, right? So we're in the United States, people are kind of like, you know, people don't know what's going on exactly, but pretty much everybody at this point is like, okay, we're kind of ready to just be people and have life and, you know, not be completely addicted to money all the time and everything be a fucking emergency one to another back to back, which is pretty much how everybody lives nowadays in the United States. Everything's alone, and I mean it's ridiculous. Like I don't understand when people go on the internet and shit and like defend the United States how it is right now. It's like they're defending communism. Like you realize that, right? I mean, just look at how ridiculous things are. You're getting a car, and then there's a law that you have to get insurance, right? So automatically that defeats the point of insurance because the entire logical purpose of insurance is that, you know, you'd be a smart guy and you'd be like, I kind of drive like shit and I think I'm going to crash, you know, fuck somebody else's shit up. And so you're like, so I'm going to pay a guy a little bit of money, you know, every month. And then he's got a bunch of money. So he's going to say, hey, I guarantee you that I'm going to, if you go and wreck your shit hard, I'm just going to cover it. Because I think you're good enough. I know that you're a stupid driver, but I think you're good enough where I'm going to make a little bit of earnings off you if you're paying a small amount. And then in the case that you really fuck things up, then I'm going to cover it all. But then if you want more after that, we got to talk because we got to refigure it because now I know that you're stupid. And so I got to charge you more because it's more likely that you're going to crash into everything, right? That's how insurance works. That's the entire, like, if you don't have that, then insurance makes no sense and it's bad shit. And that's what is going on with the insurance. So at this point, insurance is a tax. That's all it is. It's like a tax, but it's not even going to the government. It's just going to like private entities that have government regulatory protection. Okay. So you have that. You have like nobody in the United States gives a fuck about their privacy. Everybody at this point openly knows that everything that you do on the phone is recorded all the time in perpetuity. So you have no private conversations. Your Fourth Amendment is gone. You don't have any right to privacy, your persons or papers, because we're not locked. Most people can't even hardly read, but if they are literate and they're able to like write shit on a piece of paper, they don't do it because they're too lazy. They're using a phone, so they're not even carrying around a piece of paper. But the phone is like the paper, right? Like your messages, like your text message is like a fucking letter, and you know, like when this country was founded, if you were sending a letter and the government was like, wait, hang on, let me see it real quick. I mean, just like fucking cut open your letter and pulls your note out and they're like, I love you, Sally. Then, you know, that wouldn't be cool. Nowadays, people are like, I mean, there's like cops and fucking military people that swear oaths to the Constitution that are like on forums and comment sections, like, yeah, but you know, there's like bad stuff going on. So we need to like, I think it's a good idea that like, my children for fucking 100 generations are going to have any right to privacy. I mean, it's ridiculous. It's not yours to give away, dumbass. You don't have the right to give away the American Constitution. If you're going to do it, you should expect to fight. How it's gone this long, I don't know. No, I'm not dumping on cops. It's everybody's like that. I'm just saying that it's especially ironic for cops because they swear an oath to the Constitution. Now, I know, like, when I was in the military, the motherfuckers I served with did not read the Constitution. I read that shit. You know, I read that shit. I was too dumb to be able to, like, size it up and be like, you know, go through it point by point. Yeah, I kind of read it like a person reads like a prayer or something, you know? Like, I would read it and be like, we the people, you know, and then I'd be like, yes, yeah, that's it, you know, and then I would just go do the whatever they wanted me to do, you know, because I'm young, dumb, but you know, over the years I figured out. Now I read the Constitution and the Declaration. I shit you not, like I read the Declaration of Independence every 4th of July. We usually read it as like a family. We sit there and read it, and sometimes I cry when I read it because it's so sad. That's how much I love this country. But I do not like the way that we have made it because this is a lie. What we are living in right now is a fucking lie, and the people that are out there pretending like they're patriots, thinking that it's a good idea to ignore everything, like you're gonna fucking get your day. I'm not threatening you. I'm not saying I'm saying that you're gonna watch your country get destroyed. And then you're gonna have second thoughts about how apathetic you were, because it's gonna be really bad. Yeah, I agree. We are in a culturally accepted, like only really stubborn, irrational people don't understand that we're in a post-constitutional like actuality. But the paper's still there, right? Like so it's like you can still, like, if you get a camera phone out and then you make a big deal about your Constitution being violated, and then if enough people are like making, you know, short, insignificant comments, but it like stacks up, and then, you know, you can get somebody to run it on the news or something, then like maybe you'll get that. But you're not gonna, you know, if like you're not. I'll tell you what. I watch. Like, have you guys ever watched the First Amendment audits? You know what I'm talking about, First Amendment audit? So most of the Second Amendment community is familiar with like protests, like gun protests, right? So there's also First Amendment audits. Some of them are pretty like, you know, they're going out asking for trouble. But there's a couple, like I saw one where it's a guy wearing a reflective vest walking around like filming American flags, and then he gets stopped like 4 times, you know, for like suspicion of terrorism. It's like a guy with like a sun hat and a vest. Like a guy with a sun hat and a vest. I think it's like in Arizona, or it's in one of the Southwest counties. He didn't have open carry. He doesn't have a gun on him. The guy that I'm talking about, at least the video that I saw. I'm not speaking for all First Amendment audits. I'm saying that there's some guy on YouTube that made some First Amendment audits where he's like wearing an orange reflective vest, you know, like being like way over the top with being visible and stuff, like not trying to hide. And then he's got like his phone, his camera phone, and then he's going to like city parks and shit, and then just like filming the American flag. And then he's getting like cops come there and like question him and shit. It's just like, I mean, that's where we're at. Like one of the cops, there's one that's really good where it's like, or there's a post office one where a guy's just like standing on a sidewalk while there's like cars. Like, I mean, there's like thousands of cars driving by. The guy's standing on a sidewalk that's like 100 yards away from a post office, and he's filming a post office, and the cops come and they're like questioning him about it, and he's like, you know, they never tell him that it's a First Amendment audit. It'd be better if they just explain. It'd be like, we're documenting the slow death of the Constitution for historical record. Like, that's what we're doing. It'd be a lot better if they did that. They always try to take it Like they always try to be like quiet about it like it's a fucking secret. And then the cops will be like, the cop is like, he's like flipping out his notepad. And he's like, so you're filming the post office? He's like, flips up his notepad. He's like, kind of suspicious, isn't it? It's like when you watch it, you're just like, what has happened? I mean, and that's like years ago. That's not even a recent thing. Like, this is like something I saw this like 5 years ago, probably. Do you guys know what I'm saying? Yeah. I want to see somebody, you guys should start doing Second Amendment protests, dress up like fucking Orthodox Jews and see what happens. You should go. Have a good one. Thank you, Bernie. You should go. You guys should put on some like payout curls, like a costume with a fucking Orthodox Jew flat brim hat and like a black overcoat, with the white button shirt, and then go into go into a state house that allows it. Like, don't do anything illegal. Go somewhere that's legal with an M4, and then just like go in there and film it and then see what happens. I'll bet it's a little bit different. Yeah, order a costume now, please do. You won't get charged with a hate crime. Not if they do, you take it to court. It's not a hate crime. Don't be denigrating Jews while you're doing it. Just, you can wear their fucking, they'll be fine with it. Jews don't care if you dress up like a Jew, they'll be fine with it. Well, but the cops would be fine with it too. When they question you, you should like let them know that you're praying or something so you can't talk in your head. Tell them that you're like observing the Sabbath off, not on the Sabbath, but in your mind, and that you can't talk to authorities at the moment when they question you. Hey Eric, how's it going, sir? Thanks for coming back in. Hopefully not like staying up late and shit. You guys make sure that you take care of yourself. Go to work. If you exercise or something, don't waste your time watching these videos. Go exercise. No, I didn't. I don't know what you're talking about. Okay, Gerald Darden says, Doug, you ever feared the world your kids will grow up in? I have that feeling and it feels awful. Yeah, but that's what you call motivation, right? So the whole thing is that like things are gonna have to get. So I'm gonna tell you right now that human beings are motivated by two things. One of them is fear, and one of them is pain and suffering. And unfortunately, because of the way that we're wired, because of our, the way that we, like you have like the theory of evolution, right? Like when I talk about the theory of evolution, I'm just saying it so that everybody understands. It's more complex than the theory of evolution where they try to put it in science. It's a lot more complex than that. But just so everybody gets it, like evolution is a process. You also have a quicker adaptation for humans. It's like one of the things that differentiates us from animals. Okay, and I thought I saw a comment. Okay, Joe, have a good night. Yeah, what do you want to read? What do you want to know about for reading list? In general, just like books that people have written. About communism? That's I said that you should read Rome and Jerusalem by Moses Hess. I already said that. Everybody keeps on saying culture of critique. Can somebody give me a synopsis on that? On culture of critique? The news certainly pins, like the news always pins it with, alt-right. So this is from Bastia, like Bashtiya, out of Netherlands. Believe it or not, there was no American that could make a flag that cool, I guess. So I got it from the Netherlands. Okay, so maybe we should talk about. Maybe we should talk about like prevent, like what it looks like if you can get out of this. Should we talk about that? Bestia, Beshtiya is for the flag. Let's who makes this flag. No, Kevin Murphy asked me. Kevin Murphy asked me, what do you think a civil conflict? I'm assuming you're saying civil war. A civil conflict in the States would look like, similar to the troubles in Northern Ireland? No. There's going to be bodies fucking everywhere. It's going to be the most intense war that's ever been fought in human history. Path to a functioning Second Amendment. Well, your Second Amendment comes after everything else, so you have to fix the other shit first. The primary, just so you guys understand, the reason that all of this shit has happened is from what you call like seeding programs with money through the banks, through NGOs, through the education system, through like 9/11, consolidating all of the government under national emergency programs, like grant programs and shit. And I'm not just talking about 1033, I'm talking about like NIMS, right? So like NIMS, NIMS from DHS, like when they roll out DHS. And DHS is like the big boy independent executive agency that's unelected. And they have, TSA. Like if you go to the airport and you don't like getting your fucking strangers grabbing your kids and shit, which is a completely reasonable thing to not like. We used to have no checks at airports whatsoever. You just fucking get on the plane and fly. And if you die, and see you later. The TSA is under DHS. Fucking everything domestic is under DHS. And then this whole thing with the virus, they switched over to DHHS, Department of Health and Human Services. That's like what they're going on. The CDC is under that. And yeah, I'm always good vibes. Even when I'm like, if I sound like I'm negative, I'm not. I don't really get negative. So I could probably have the fucking communist death squad here about to execute me, and I'd still be like, hey guys, let's party. Do you think they will or are filling DHS with people who don't care about America or Americans? It's not that people in the DHS don't care about America. It's that everybody in the United States is so miseducated they don't even know what the fuck America is. Like literally, how many people do you think have actually read the Constitution? Honestly, and it's got to be minimal. If anybody's read it, they've read it once, like just trying to skip over the shit in their head to get the next thing. I'm listening. This is like Mozart, but it's like an opera, a Mozart opera. Yeah, well, middle schoolers don't really have the total capacity to understand the Constitution. Maybe if you're like a really smart kid, it's pretty deep. The Constitution is basically like, I mean, the Constitution follows the Declaration of Independence. Declaration of Independence lists chronological historical grievances by instance, and then the Constitution like worked backwards to say like, okay, how did King George fuck us this way? And they go like, okay, he did this and this and this, and they go like, well, what do we do to put a stop on that? And they're like, well, we want the people to be able to do stuff, but not King George fuck us, so do this. And then most of that, most of that came out with like the part of it about coining money, like minting and coining money. Everything that's happened is through money. So by not having any control of your money supply, you lose control of everything. It just takes a while. But this is exactly what, I mean, Benjamin Franklin talked about this. None of this shit is like surprising. Like the fucking founding fathers knew about all this shit. The banks are trying to get into the United States, into the colonies through King George. That's what the whole, if you don't know this, when we fought King George in the Revolutionary War to make the United States, it was the same people that are doing this now. They just aren't in Britain. It's the same fucking thing. King George is dead. The people that fucking ran King George are still here. And these are the people that are running Marxism now. No, not fucking Freemasons. Freemasons are... come on. Are you guys really that brainwashed that you don't understand what's going on? Do I have to like spell it? You're going to get me kicked off YouTube. I mean, if you guys don't know what's going on, like, you're pretty fucked because you're about to get. I mean, I don't know when it's going to happen. I mean, you're max at you guys 10 years. That's like max. The shit's already kicking off now. You've already got like this war with China is going to kill. I mean, if you go into the full, if it goes into a full total war with China, like you're going to lose millions of Americans. Period. Any way you cut it. I'm not even talking about China coming here. There's a possibility that China could come here. They could penetrate into, from the Arctic, like through Alaska and shit, and they could get here. They're not going to go through California, most likely. Yeah, I don't know shit about Freemasons because I'm not joining the Freemasons because I don't. Why would I want to? They're secret, so I don't know about them. Yeah, they will come through Canada. They're going to come down to the Arctic. That's why the military has repositioned its effort to conduct training drills in the Arctic annually for the past. They started doing that like a decade ago. It's really ramped up now. Same with other European countries. Like Canada's doing it. I know that like all the northern European countries are doing it. They're starting to do a lot of Arctic drills. That's all in preparation for like Russo-Asiatic conflict, which is China. Like this isn't. I know that it's hard to believe, guys, but like, fuck, they're accused. I mean, if you just go watch some like CFR videos, they've talked about going to war with China for a fucking decade. The LMGs are all from, those LMGs are like really expensive. They're from firearms manufacturers that loaned them for the project. Like I went to their site and then shot the LMG video. Some of those machine guns are like so expensive that they're not even on the market. There's like one in the United States. So one of them was so rare. The South African 7.62 LMG with the folder on it. I don't know how many of those there are in the United States, but not many. I couldn't shoot it. They're so rare. The S77 or whatever. Who is this guy? Shane P. Shane P. Shane P says, this sounds like Anon making a lot of predictions that never come true. I mean, I don't know what to tell you, Shane P. Like, I don't watch the news. but I turned it on like a couple days ago, and you've got like the Seventh Fleet is running back to back through the fucking Taiwan Strait. Like, and China closed its training drills this last couple of weeks, so it doesn't have an inadvertent engagement with the Seventh Fleet. So you're retarded if that's what you think, because you are going to go to war with China, and it is going to be fucking massive. And you are. I'm telling you right now that you motherfuckers that are like taking this shit lightly and making fun of it, you're going to change your fucking tone. And when you change your fucking tone, don't come crying to me and asking me to come save you and be your fucking savior. I'm gonna support the Constitution and be here for my country, but I'm not gonna be here for you because you weren't here for any of us. So I can't see into the future. I can't tell you exactly what's gonna happen, but I can like bracket off some logical deduction. Like, you're going to go to fucking existential war with China between United States and China. The United States is going to win, but it's not going to be called the United. I mean, it might as well not be called the United States when it gets done. You're going to lose everything. You're not going to have a constitution on paper. Right now you don't have a constitution, but you have it on paper. When the Chinese war gets done, that's like, now we can be like, okay, and we're done with this China. You know, Obama said in his speech, and he said it like almost like he tried to say it like he tried to phrase it as a motivational tone. And he said, quote, "The Constitution is really just a piece of paper." But then he went on to say, like, he paused for a long time. And people were like, yeah, okay. And then he said, like, but it's really us, you know what I mean? Like, that's what he added in there. But what he's really saying is that the Constitution is just a piece of paper, because that's how they look at it. It's just a piece of paper. Nobody cares about the Constitution that's in government. They're all bought. I mean, there is nobody in government that would even talk about any of the shit that I'm talking about, because they're so fucking bribed and corrupt. I mean, you have total corruption. No, here, Sean P. I've been talking to people like you for 5 years about this China situation. I've been studying this shit. Like, you're probably like going to bars to find your fulfillment of your life. I don't do that shit. I'm just reading about this shit that is informing this theory. Okay, so you had all my fun. I am trying to warn you, and now you're basically telling me that what I'm trying to tell people isn't going to happen just because you feel like it, and you have no like, what information are you going to tell people in this chat to convince them that they're not going to go to China? I mean, are you like, even the fake MSM, the only thing that they agree on is that China needs to be destroyed as a threat. So what am I missing here? Yeah, deflect. I mean, if the generals didn't do it, yeah. I mean, if you had mutiny, you could do that. But then it's like, you guys got to understand too, that if you have like a mutiny situation, like, mutiny would be like the best situation that you could do would be if you could get, Americans to actually come together and be like, hey, we don't want everybody to die, and we kind of also want our Constitution. We're kind of sick of you guys taking away. And then we just, pulled into our borders, said, like, how about you guys quit pissing away our tax dollars on shit? I mean, do you even know how many wars we're in right now, or which countries? Like, no, like, nobody even knows. Half the shit's fucking classified. China is the threat. Hi, Mike. So you pull everybody back into the United States, and then now you got to worry about your internal subversive government that's here. And if somebody, all right, I'm not here. If you don't have something smart to say, and then you're going to say, if you don't have something smart to say, and then you're going to give me criticism without anything to back it up, then like, I don't know. There's nothing else I can say. We either move on to another topic or finish up. This is getting unproductive. Hey, no problem, Mike. Okay, what rabbit hole do you want to go down? That sounds like a good idea. I say if we go down a wild enough rabbit hole, always people shut the fuck up. Swatch. We get them to shut the fuck up and we'll get in the zone. What do you want to, what rabbit hole do you want to go down? The boog rabbit hole? Yeah, okay. All right, here we go. Here we go. All you people that are like, China's not a big deal, like there's not gonna be a war and blah 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 blah, and you know, all this shit. So if let's say you have we talked about this a little bit before. Let's say that let's just do a thought experiment. Let's say that I know that everything's perfect in the United States right now, and everybody's happy with everything, and everybody's completely fulfilled, and nobody would ever want any kind of violence or anything, and nobody would fight. Like everybody just gets along. We're perfectly unionized. But just a hypothetical scenario where like things go, people aren't really getting along, and then there's a civil conflict. You can't even manage the civil conflict where you're at right now. This is why people that think that they're just going to pick up their M4 and go fight, like just go start shooting at people, you're going to have a hard time, okay? Because everything when you're text messaging your buddies, all that shit is being recorded. Not only is it being recorded, it just like everything gets recorded all the time. Your texts, like when you're using Telegram, and you're like, this was encrypted. Like it's not encrypted. There is no encryption. Okay, unless you wrote the fucking encryption yourself and you never shared any of the key, then your shit is not encrypted. If you got it on the internet, it's not encrypted. It's completely visible to the people that matter. And anything that you transmit on a phone, with a phone call, a text message, using Telegram, trying to use encryption programs, encrypted email, all of that shit is intercepted. It's recorded right away. All they have to do is, like, once you start fucking around, then they'll geolocate you, and then they just read your shit, and they'll read everything, and they know everything that you're thinking. When you drive around with your phone, a lot of the new phones, even when your phone's off, you have an IMEI that's going to ping your towers. So it's going to ping one tower, and the tower, like it can tell from the time of the reflection what the distance is to one tower. So that's like a unipolar coordinate is a single ping. Once you get two pings, now we're talking like an X. So they can get you within a certain distance. Once you get three, now we're talking like multilateration. So they have your elevation, your exact location, whether or not you have your fucking phone on or not. When you get with your buddies and you're like, man, we just had enough of this communism and we're just going to do something about it. And then you get on some chat and, you think that nobody was watching, and then you get 200 people together, and then you're thinking that you're super secret and you're going to buy a bunch of bullets and gas and some fucking sleeping bags or whatever silly idea you have. And then you're gonna use your Visa debit card to buy all that shit, or you're gonna order off of Amazon or eBay. Well, all that shit has algorithms that look through all that shit. So if they see 200 people buying the same thing, I guarantee you that they have a program right now, because I would have written one. It's going to pop up and it's going to show that 200 people bought the same item, and that's unusual. So they're gonna have like hot pops that come up for anything that's not normal, right? It's just going to automatically sniff and detect anything that's not normal. So they're going to see that 200 people bought sleeping bags, and then they're going to see that 200 people, they're going to look at your credit history or your credit card. They're going to say, oh, this person lives in this state, in this county. Now they're going to look and see that 200 people bought gas in like that state or whatever at approximately the same time. And then they're going to watch your IMEI ping while you guys go to your secret meeting place. And then you see what I'm saying? Like you're not gonna you're gonna have to burn down the fucking United States to have any kind of hope without getting if you're playing as violence, and you're not gonna do very well because nobody's gonna like that. So you're gonna get killed by the authorities. You're also gonna get killed by whoever's power you take out or whatever. When you start fucking shit up, they're just gonna come and kill you. They'll just join the cops. So. And nobody understands what's going on, so they think everything in America is America. and for American interests, and it's not. And well, yeah, of course you have, you know, people have GPSs and shit in their car, of course. I'm just trying to like make you guys understand the situation that you've gotten us into. When you are allowing the census takers to come to your door and you're like, oh yeah, I love America, let me fill out that census card. They are comparing that to the number of immigrants that they're bringing in. So that's like how they're keeping track of everything, right? Like if you didn't do that, then they wouldn't have very good track, and they wouldn't be able to figure out like how many more immigrants did you bring in. If everybody didn't do it, they'd have a hard time with their immigration program. Well, because people are so fucking stupid that they don't even understand what's going on. When you go buy a gun, you fill out the 4473, and they ask you about race and shit. That's an OMB demographic standard, the racial standard format. It's federally introduced. It's on 4473s when you buy a gun. It's on like hospital forms. You can go to the hospital. I know that when I go into VA, they have the OMB demographic standard for the, you know, questionnaire. Like all that shit is designed so they can track the ethnic, like the most current ethnic distribution of people and where they're at in the United States. And when you fill it out, you are assisting them to get a picture of the United States so that they can figure out how to fuck it next. I'm just telling you telling you exactly what's going on. What's a lie? I'm lying? I'm not lying. Do you know that on the 473, they changed that shit in 2016. Like the current 4473 came out in 2016. A couple years after that, they got the online FBI NICS portal for FFLs. If you're like a Title I gun dealer, most people these days are signing into FBI NICS to run their checks on you when you're in there buying your fucking Sigma 40 Smith & Wesson or whatever the fuck you're buying. They're going into to NICS, and they're when they're typing all the shit, there's an entire field on there that is about private transfers that don't even exist. So they have section fields in there for like already set up for like if you were loaning your dad a gun and you just want to load it to some of your family. If they have like I'm pretty sure they have a family. I know they have like handgun person to person transfer. They're entire fields of shit that don't have laws to impose them, but they're already set up in the NICS system. They've been there for years, and there's no guidance on the ATF on how to use them. You don't use them. They're just default, and they just sit there unused. And not a single fucking person in the United States that I've ever heard, any gun dealer I've worked with, or any gun manufacturer, anybody that does 4473s, or any of the people that are probably like running down the fucking blogs on NRA blog, wherever that is, probably on black.com. But wherever NRA blogs are, they're running down the fucking blog, you know, talking about how much they love America and shit and how much they support the Second Amendment. And not a single fucking one of them noticed that there's an entire field for person-to-person transfers. Nor do they give a shit, because they're pretty much just like everybody else, living their life from one catastrophic emergency to the next in succession, like somebody running around with Parkinson's trying to drink a cup of coffee. I'm just saying it's so stupid. And people like the people that are like OCD about everything, like there's a lot of like obsessive personality disorder guys, and guys with like ultra clean guns. I mean, people like clean guns, I get it. I'm not trying to dig on you too hard. I'm just saying that like there's also people that are like super OCD and like don't, you know, like I can't fire my gun because it's fucking gonna get carbon powder in it. And like those people are like, you know, they're going shot and stuff, and they're like, we're getting into, especially nowadays with the million FFLs that are out there, like getting into the gun business and shit, and they're like just now learning about the gun laws. They have no idea, you know, they weren't even familiar with it 20 years ago, and like how much has changed. and like the assault weapon ban, like they didn't have to go through that because they just didn't even give a fuck about guns then. They just like came up like they could be into like discotheques or get into like Honda motorcycles or something, but they, fate just had it that they, they just stumbled around on YouTube and went from like live cooking shows to a gun channel, and then all of a sudden they're into guns now, and they open a gun business, and then they're like at SHOT Show, like people are asking questions, they're giving recommendations and shit, and they're just like talking about the regulations like it's great, like oh yeah, this is what you do for the for this form and this form, and it's great, and we all need to follow rules. It's why you all threw it away, you're giving it away, and nobody held you accountable. I am. How do you save America? You have to get off money. You have to stop the money supply. That's the only way. Period. There's no other way. Any way that you can think of, it involves a money supply. If you think that you are going to, like, if you like most people, I think my assumption is that most people in the United States, most men that are military age that would have any effect on a change in the United States, they view the situation as like everything's fine. We just have some socialists. So if we can like somehow get the socialists out of power, then we can just take the ball and run with it with what we got. You are mistaken. The system is set up as a weapon to fucking drive us into the ground, and we're getting to the end of it right now. And we need serious change that takes care of people. And I'm talking by taking care of people, I mean like we need to be able to provide for every American citizen all of our food and water intake without fucking compromise, not like shitty, aquifer systems and distended fucking pipelines that for water, for irrigation and for potable water, where, it's just like a money pit where it's like this, it's just a scam. The entire thing is just a scam. It's just regulated. Like they can't even, it's not even open market. Like if you're a city and you need some kind of service, it's like you have to follow the grant recommendations that you took a while ago, and that your city's a debt slave and they can never get off of it. It's on a federal tip forever. And then they can't go and like when something fucks up in the city that they need to provide for the citizens, they can't go and just hire the best person. They have to buy from a list of like approved things, just like Obamacare or something. And then they can't, because those are fixed prices, all the private industry competitors will like raise their price to like be by their price because it's inflated government price for like government guaranteed contract. So then all the people that are in the private industry that are competing with them are like, well, we could, they're like 5,000% overpriced. So we could just do normal price, but why don't we go 3,000% overpriced? And then we're like, then we make more money. Everything's driven by money. Nobody's making any decisions in the United States considering the future of the country or free or liberty. The money is the only thing that people care about, and that has to change. And the way you change that is by getting control of the fucking money supply, so that your money isn't like, money should not be the center of motivation. It should be what the money buys, right? Like like if we're going to talk about materialism is materialism. Fiat currency is like, it's just so stupid. I don't even know how to. Sometimes I feel like I'm trying to save like an aquarium full of lobster out of a fucking Asian restaurant, and I'm in there and like the chefs are looking over there and like, they're like, what the is he gonna get those fucking lobsters out of there? And then the lobsters are like, no, don't take us out. We want to get eaten at the Asian restaurant. And I'm like looking around, and I'm like getting my sleeve and shit and like sticking it down the tank, and the lobsters are just pinching me. And I'm like, okay, you guys are all gonna get fried. Have fun. Like I'm gonna go out in the parking lot and just get drunk. You guys can fucking burn this bitch down if you want. And it's so stupid. Or whatever they have in Asian restaurants. I don't know what they have. Shrimp. Crazy long, like tentacle shrimp from Vietnam or whatever. Yeah, IoT, this guy's talking about the Internet of Things. So IoT, if you don't know what IoT is, that's Internet of Things. people hear that as a buzzword. They don't really understand what that means. So IoT is based off of things like chirp split spectrum transmitters and receivers. And why that's important is because they're ultra low power and they're super long range. So you can, like with an IoT, for example, if you're talking about like, there's a network called, there's a protocol, there's a radio protocol that's called LoRa, LoRa. Yeah, and RFID too. RFID is a little older. IoT is so new. It's not new, but it's so new. Like people don't even know about it. Like governments haven't even figured out how to exploit it yet. It's in the tech. It's in like the ham radio. Like people that do C programming and shit are gonna know about LoRa radio, but it's so small. Like a LoRa radio transmitter that transmits like 40 kilometers is like well probably like that big. Like one that transmits like 4 kilometers is only like that big. And then it takes a puck battery, like the battery of your watch. You put that on there and it lasts for like a year. Like it could transmit for a year, nothing. You put a little single solar cell on the back of it. Now it's like it's never going to run out of battery. Why is that significant? Because it's never existed before. The sensors between like microwave sensors, which are completely like gigahertz sensors, which cost like, I don't know, $2 off of eBay. I shit you not. I mean, because I buy them. You get Chinese made gigahertz sensors, and then if you know C programming, you can wire up like anything that you want. I mean, you can wire up like sensors that like people detectors. No fucking idea that's there. I use them for perimeter security. I mean, I don't do that. But you wire these bitches up. They're maintenance free for years, like an Aimpoint T2, but in whatever device you want, and then they transmit to like a receiver that's multiple miles away. And because it's not like VHF or UHF radio, like if you guys are playing airsoft or something and talking to each other on radios, it's not like that. Chirp split spectrum is going to split the bandwidth over like a wide spectrum, and then it's going to send packets like simultaneously, and they're at different frequencies, and then they complete themselves at the receiver. So like if you have an obstacle in the way, like a hill or something like that, it gets around that shit. If you put on like a balloon or like elevated, like on a tower, it's like, I mean, I don't know. It's like people were like testing this shit when it came out 10 years ago. People were like nerds in Europe were testing it, and they were getting like 400, 500 kilometer transmission ranges by putting it higher. So this is like really significant. If you don't know anything, like a regular radio, like an army radio when I was in, is only going to get like, I mean, if you're in like a truck, if you got like a high amp radio, it's going to be, you know, pretty significant. You might be able to get, I don't know, 15 miles or something. But like a individual radio or something, you know, forget about it. You're gonna get a couple miles max. These things are like the size of a fucking Tic Tac, and you can put any, I mean, keep in mind, you can put any sensor on them. So when the government figures this out, and it's going to happen, they're going to fucking blow their load. The only thing that's holding it back right now is that they're all too retarded to even understand how dangerous it is. Once they figure it out, you're going to have sensors that like go off and send a message to the government when you fucking lift up your toilet seat. What, LoRa sensors? Well, first you need to know C programming because you can't wire any electronics. For the boog, if you guys are going to boog, you need to learn C programming. C programming is machine language for controlling machines. It's like one of the original base languages, like all the shit that people talk about on the internet, like Java and shit. That's all like computer screens. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about like if you want to build a fucking robot with a gun on it to fucking drive around and shoot at shit, then you need to know C programming. If you want to run like remotes and pistons and shit or whatever you're going to do, you need to know C programming. So I recommend learning C programming, like a language. C what you use for, you know, I mean, Arduino, yeah, like for a microcontroller specific to C++, but if you're doing like robotics, it's C. I mean, C++ is kind of similar to C. It's very similar. What's hella no. I mean, tungsten core ammo is amazing. It's kind of scary. If you shoot tungsten core at like a rock or something, it will come back and shoot right through your fucking head. Don't ask me how I know that. But Yeah, like tungsten core is crazy. I used to do tests with tungsten core pistol ammunition. So I'm talking like a 9mm, like a Glock 17. No, not even Glock. I used to use a Glock 26 for testing because it's like the worst possible situation for velocity, and would shoot subsonic hollow points with tungsten penetrator cores. This is like custom ammunition. Like you can't buy this shit. It would be illegal if you bought it. It's illegal to sell it. This ammunition would shoot like straight out of a 26 at like 30 feet maybe, well over 21 feet, would fucking zip right through the front side of a Kevlar. Like I'm talking a helmet and a vest. Like if you like the like a IBA, like your standard soft armor, shoots right through it with like 9mm and subsonic. C is not dead. C is extremely powerful. People that think that C isn't powerful is just because they're not doing anything in C because they're not making robotics. If you're making robotics all the time, like if you're Mad Max, like if this world goes to the apocalypse and you're Mad Max and you're like how do I get water to shoot up this pump and like work with this solar panel, and I need to put it on like a timer, but not like a wind up timer. Like I need to program it because I need a different times and shit. Like you got to know C to do that. That's C language. Good night. Thanks for coming in. Have a good night. I'm sorry if the topic was too heavy. I'm trying to wake these motherfuckers up. Yeah, copper. Now copper works well. I haven't used it much on I haven't used much copper bullets like Barnes bullets and stuff. I haven't really done that. Like the special missions units use a lot of copper and SF and shit. I'm sure they use a ton of it now. They used to use a lot in like the Iraq War. The copper is pretty good. Tungsten's hard. Like tungsten's difficult to get hold of. Like if you're not like a business with a bunch of money, then you're probably not going to do much tungsten. Or have you gotta have like a lathe for sure. Um, copper's like the cheap middleman EFP penetrator. Like that's like it's great for penetration. So it wouldn't surprise me if it's good on pistols and shit or rifles. Yeah, you can get tungsten. You can get your source tungsten from rods, but you have to cut it down, which is going to take. You're going to go through some bits doing that on a lathe, and then once you got your individual, you would call it like an insert. That's what it's called. It's like a tungsten insert. It's like the core of the round. Now you have to have a swage to swage your ammunition. It's got to be your swage dies have to be designed to the fucking tungsten penetrator that's in the middle. You can't just like throw that shit in a fucking RCBS and go have fun. It doesn't work like that. We're talking like Corbin does it. If you've ever worked with Corbin and talked to Corbin for shit, like hopefully you don't have to send any emails because he's gonna fucking send you a translation of the Bible or something back. I mean, you're gonna get like 50,000 paragraph response, but I know Corbin does swages. He's done stuff like that. There's a bunch of guys do that shit. Big boys. Okay, what the pot? What time is it? Okay, we're good for a little bit. Ball shots and face shots. So if you guys want some like combat advice or something, yeah, I know there's tungsten. I know where to get tungsten. I have tungsten here. Okay. So we'll talk. We'll do general. I've never read culture critique. I just hear about it all the time. Everybody that comes in here tells me about it. I haven't read it. Have a good night. Have a good night, Scott. Thank you for coming in. On the Space Force, I haven't even got that far because I'm still working on planet Earth. Enrico Jesus says, knowing Freikorps, what, like a current campaign of Freikorps? I mean, that's the equivalent of the Freikorps is like the closest thing in Germany that there ever was to like the American militias. It's not. Thank you. I appreciate that. I very much appreciate that. My goal here is to, like, there's gonna be if we do this thing that's coming up and people just let it happen, like there's gonna be a lot of suffering for people. And even though these streams, like I'm going hard on them, right? The purpose of it is so that people have some kind of interest in hearing something they haven't heard before. I'm not making this shit up though. I've staked my reputation on this. That's how confident I am in it. You can 10 years from now, you can come back and if it doesn't happen and you guys didn't do anything to try to stop it and it just didn't happen anyway, you can come make fun of me all you want. I don't give a fuck. But I want to try to help people because I love you. I think if you're worried about space control, I think it's a little bit of a tangential issue. I love you too. I love you too. Okay, so combat advice, basic combat advice. So you shouldn't. Number one is that all human life is precious. You shouldn't take human life. Number one. Okay. I know you don't agree with that. I'm fucking telling you that. Okay. But now, real life doesn't work out like that, and people have to kill people. I understand this. I'm telling you though that if you have a choice, like if you're out there and you're like have a choice to shoot somebody or not, don't fucking shoot them. If you don't have to shoot somebody, don't shoot somebody. Number two, if you're going to fucking shoot at somebody, and they're going to, it's not even a tactical thing. The best battle is the one not fought. It's not even about that. It's just you need to respect human life. When you put out goodness in the world, it spreads around. And you need to not go out there thinking that you're Billy Badass and just start shooting everybody because you don't have any respect for life, because then you're just going to make an environment where nobody respects life. And you don't want your kids to grow up in that world. Don't do it. It's not why we're here. You're a highly complex multicellular organism that is like competing for control of the planet, essentially. And we need to get over that phase. The way to get over it isn't with deceit. The way to get over it is with truth and reality, not coercion, and people being so fucking smart and understanding where the places in the world that they're not even interested in killing each other. That's a long ways away, but if you're like just going around like, fucking canoeing everybody, you're not going to get there very fast. Okay. If you're going to shoot somebody, where you shoot somebody is the central nervous system. Okay. For those of you who went to public education, the central nervous system is the like what you think of as like a spinal cord. Okay. It's inside of that. Runs in the spinal cord is like the protective, it's the protective exoskeleton of the central nervous system, and it goes all the way up into behind the eyes. So here all the way down, and when you shoot somebody, regardless of which direction they're facing, like if they're like sideways or anything like that, you always aim for the CNS. And I'm not saying you have to do headshots. I'm saying that when you're shooting somebody in the torso or something, you don't just like aim for, if somebody's facing sideways and then you aim at them with a gun and then your brain is so hyped up that you just see like the brackets of their shoulders, like this side and this side. And then your brain typically will put your reticle center in that. And then you're just going to shoot as fast as you possibly can. Number one, don't do that. Don't shoot as fast as you possibly can. Don't do that. When you shoot as fast as you possibly can, you're going to miss your first shot. Take the extra fucking half second and make sure your bullet is going where it's going. If you were going to die, you were going to die anyway. The extra half second is gonna make you so that you don't fucking fire a shot, completely miss, and then have to recover the shot while the other person is responding to your shot that you just missed. That's why you don't fucking miss on the first shot. Because if you're shooting somebody, if you're shooting somebody and aiming at them and taking the time to aim, then it means that they don't know that you're aiming at them. So take an extra fucking half second and then pull the trigger right. When you fire, if the person, hopefully the person that you're shooting at also has a weapon. I'm just gonna say that right up front, okay? Like I'm no Gandhi here, but hopefully you're not just like going on shooting people that don't have weapons that can't defend themselves. If you do that, you're probably gonna meet me if you're in my neck of the woods. But when you fire at somebody and they have a weapon and they're walking, like if they are an enemy combatant, I'm just gonna say that. If they're an enemy combatant that you need to engage, when you shoot, you are going to, like if you're just like out in the woods or whatever, or like if you don't know what you don't have any training or anything, and you're just like gonna run out to highway because there's a gunfight going on and go get into it. Number one, don't do that. Don't fight on the highway. But number two, the more important point that I was trying to make is that don't see, people get tunnel vision and they'll see the target and then they just stand there and shoot at it. Do not do that, because that is what cops do, because cops have all the guns and they're in the city and they have radios and they know what the fuck is going on and they drive the routes that they're going to shoot people on. Like, so they don't have any problem, right? Like they're cop. The entire thing when you're watching like a police shooting video is that they're operating on their own turf, and the entire fight that they're fighting is like a fight against time. Like they just need to get their gun up and get on target and engage the target and eliminate the target as quickly as possible. That's it. And everything is structured around that. Combat is not that at all. Combat is everything except that. So when you're like, if you get an engagement and you are going up, you are approaching your actions on wherever that's going to be, wherever you're going to ambush somebody, because that's all that combat is ambushing. You're either getting ambushed or you're ambushing someone else. When you get into weapon range of them, your body is going to want to just like pick up your rifle and shoot. You need to think about that and not do it. You need to, when you pull the trigger, you should have something in between you and them that stops bullets. Even though I know that you're fucking CAG operator, but everybody makes a mistake. The world is experts are predictable. The world is full of amateurs. So you run up there and then you get something that stops the fucking bullets that are coming back at you, and you don't shoot until you have that. Like if you're standing around, there's nothing there, and you're in a field, that means you lay down. If you lay down, you can't see them anymore, that means you kneel. If you get what I'm saying? Yeah, don't get behind a car. You need to get behind dirt. You need to get behind shit that actually stop. Don't think that you're just gonna get hit by one round. You need to stop like an entire burst of like a belt of machine gun fire that's gonna come back at you, and it needs to physically not hit you, and that's where you should be engaging from. Yeah, get small. Yeah, exactly. That's exactly right. Now the second thing to that, and this takes a little bit longer because it's like a more mental process under stress. When you shoot, before you shoot, like once you find that cover, now what you should be doing while you're approaching that cover, I'm not talking about concealment, I'm talking about cover. You should be looking around for your egress, because what you should assume is always like worst case scenario, right? There's like most likely, and there's like worst case. You need to assume worst case. You need to think about like, what's the shit that's just gonna fuck up my day, and then you need to like make sure that you don't count yourself out for that, because if you do that and you assume that's not gonna happen, that's exactly what's gonna happen, and you're gonna be fucked because you're gonna be especially fucked because you're gonna die, but you're also gonna like think about how stupid you were before you died because you actually thought about it and then you didn't do it. You need to look at your egress before you go to the position. So that means if you run up to a mound, you look around, you say like, okay, if I fire around at this guy and then there's actually 4 guys 30 feet away from me in a blind spot that I can't even see, that I don't even know is there, and they just all stand up at one time and just start firing at me. Like what do I do? Like, is this just a barrel that I'm behind that's filled with water and I'm expecting to take one round back? And then once, you know, and then I have nowhere else to go. Like, it's 100 yards of fucking grass on both sides of me. Like, that's not, you're not going to do very well. You need it. You need to be, you need to be looking for your egress route, a plan, and your egress route should have also cover, if possible. Sometimes you can't do that, but it should at least have concealment, so they can't see where you're going. You know, they're going to see that you leave your position if they're shooting at you and it warrants you leaving. They're going to see you, like, you know, they're going to realize that you're leaving. They shouldn't be able to just like watch you like go, like if you're running down a ravine or something and they're just like watching you and can see you the whole way. Well, then you're going to get shot. Okay. Does everybody get what I'm talking about? And those are like basic rules of gunfight. The other thing is that whatever gun you have, you should have a cleaning rod that's longer than your barrel to punch out stuck casings. Because if you get a stuck casing, it's a catastrophic failure, and your gun's not going to get back up unless you have a rod that you can stick down your barrel and like pop out your magazine, stick the fucking rod down your barrel, or assemble it real fast. If you got like a multi-piece rod like on the AR, throw it down the front of your barrel so it meets the stuck casing, and your bolt's probably gonna be like locked up on it. Pull out your magazine, forget that magazine, get another one ready, stick it in there. Take your old magazine and use it as a fucking press to press that fucking rod. Because if you get a stuck casing in a firefight, now usually if you guys are shooting steel case, like a lot of people in the United States shoot steel case, that has a higher probability of sticking. If you get a stuck round in a firefight and you don't have a fucking rod and you haven't trained with it, like you haven't practiced on the range clearing, pretending like you're clearing a stuck casing, you are not going to get your weapon back up. So you're going to be, whatever would happen to you if somebody's trying to shoot you and you didn't have a weapon, that's just going to happen to you. Yeah, so if you're using an AR, the two biggest showstoppers are a stuck case, which is a big showstopper because it takes so most ARs, like most people that have ARs, like in the military, we use a multi-piece clean rod that just threads together. It's just like simple steel clean rod that you throw down the barrel. So like people do it different ways. The way I like to do it is put in a pouch and and then like a small pouch, like not like a big giant dangly pouch, but like a very thin. In the military they had like a little plastic holder thing, and I taped that to my fucking sling. So then no matter where my gun is, even if I like lose all my clothes somehow, but I have my rifle, then I have my clean rod with me, and then yeah, but you can't always extract a stuck case. Like with the kind of stuck case I'm talking about, you can't just rip the charging handle and get it out. We're talking like you do that a couple times and it just never comes out. That's what I'm talking about. That's like it's an unusual thing, especially with brass, but it's just so catastrophic that it's not worth. You have to prepare for it, because if it happens, it'll fucking kill you. Yeah, like a swole case, exactly. So the other showstopper is if you're using ammunition that has non-spec primer pockets, and then you get a primer come out in your ammunition, because what's going to happen is it's going to get underneath your trigger. Like especially if you're using like a semi-automatic AR-15, well, you've got a little space under your trigger, and when your primer pops out, it's going to go down there. And it's going to block your trigger, so it's going to feel like when you pull your trigger, it doesn't go anywhere. It's going to feel like you're trying to pull your trigger as hard as you can, but it's on fire. It's gonna feel like it's unsafe, and you're trying to like mash your trigger, but you're gonna be on fire. So first you're gonna think it's on. First you're gonna assume that you left it on safe, and then you're gonna visually look at it because you're gonna be under stress because you're like in a gunfight, and you're gonna like, oh, look at it, and you're gonna be like, that motherfucker's on fire. Why is it firing? And then you're gonna try it again because you're gonna be like, this can't be, and you're gonna pull it, and then you're gonna get shot in the face. But you don't want that to happen, so you check your, primers. Make sure your primers are good. And then I guess of course, all the shit that other people say, but whatever it is that you're planning on doing for defense or whatever, you need to physically practice it. Because the things, if you're fighting people, the thing that wins fights are people that know what they're doing. The only way that you can know what you're doing is to actually do it. It's not theory, okay? It's not like you thought about it in your head and then you're good. It's like you need to fucking get in the grass and fucking do it and see what happens. And then you need to get to a point, and if you fuck it up when you're practicing it, then you better believe you're gonna fuck it up in real life. So you need to do it a couple more times until you're not fucking it up. And it's pretty common sense, right? Miss you too, Kevin. Okay, so with that, we're talking about like yeah, C programming is a big deal. If you get into C programming, let's say like I'm big into sensors, like I'm way into sensors because nobody uses them. And it's great because I can just make my own and nobody has any fucking, like, they don't even exist on the market. So, like, nobody even has the idea of the capability. So, like, if you do C programming and you figure this shit out, you should do it before the boot. Like, you should get a C programming book and you should get a little, get you some breadboards, some wires, get you some microcontrollers, like the Arduino microcontrollers. You should get some of those. You should just buy some of those just so you have them. They're cheap as fuck. Just order them on eBay. Get you some microcontrollers. If you get into like Mad Max territory, shit goes really bad. At least you'll have them. Once you learn electronics, if you learn electronic engineering and C programming, you can make any fucking thing that you want. You can just invent shit that doesn't even exist. I mean, it's literally like your imagination. So I would recommend you to do that. You can build if you know C programming and if you know wiring. Like if you get, I recommend. Oh fuck! I got an electronics book that I can recommend. I'll bring it in sometime when we're doing a chat. I'll tell you about it. But you can make, like, for instance, right? If you can just build a spark gap generator, and then you just be putting off like max. So like let's say the communists have fucking taken this shit over, and they're going around burning people's fucking boog flags. Okay, and you don't want your boog flag burned. You're not about that. So, like, you know they're coming because you had a sensor. So you had like a sensor set up on the road that pings cars. So, like, you automatically know that a car's coming up and they're not supposed to be coming up. So you're like, okay, I don't even need to look who's coming because motherfucker's not supposed to be there anyway. So, like, I'm gonna get my shit ready. And then you bust out. You just like open the closet door, and then you got a little spark gap generator. You flip that bitch on. Now, if they're a squad or whatever, whoever they are, they're stacked. They can't fucking talk because they're gonna come up to you, and their radios are just gonna be going, and they're gonna be like, fucking Barry forgot to change all these fucking batteries, and they're gonna stand around like idiots outside of your house, not wanting to commit to their raid because they didn't plan on their radio not working. Okay, that's what's gonna happen. If you don't know C programming, you're gonna have no idea what the fuck I'm talking about. Okay, you can build if you know electronics, you can build like an IMEI ping counter, and then you can even when you're not there, if like people are so dumb nowadays, like if someone's coming after you in the boog, they probably have their cell phone on and they're probably retarded enough to have their like Wi-Fi on. So even if you have like a Wi-Fi sniffer, if they were like coming to recon your house or whatever, or just like driving by doing recon, you can just like build a log on like when they're coming by, like their phone's just gonna ping it. It's like a people sensor that they're carrying around their fucking pocket. If you do eye in the eye, you're gonna get them no matter what. They can like turn off their phone basically, and you're still gonna get the eye in the eye. So even like the smart guys that aren't completely retarded will be like, turn off my phone, and then they'll drive by your house or like sneak through your woods or whatever, and then you're gonna fucking see that they're there by their phone. Yeah. Same thing with the Mac. Yeah. For the Mac ID. I have low level experience with C. Most of the shit I'm talking about is just for me looking at like other projects and searching around online. I'm not a good programmer. I suck at it. I'm probably really shitty. I am good. I'm really good at explosives though, from the army, which kind of has a slight crossover with, it's engineering. Like a normal. So don't think of it like that. I mean, it is a language, but don't think of it like how long would it take me to learn C. You just get a book of somebody that's really smart that can teach you practical projects, and then you just start small. Like don't try to fucking like reverse engineer Windows or something. Just just get like, you know, get you some breadboards and some wires. Just start fucking around. Make like a little fucking flashy light. You know, do that first, and then and then work your way up from there. It's however far you want to go. Yeah, copy paste code, figure out what it does exactly. A lot of the like if you go into the forums, like there's electronic forums. If you go into the forums, because a lot of those guys are beginners too, they'll be nice and they'll put in. So when you're writing code, you can comment out stuff. And for those of you that don't know what that means, it's like uh, in code, it's kind of like you're using different programs that will format the code, but you're typing in the language. And so, like for C, you would type in what you want the program to do in the way, and you have to do very specific things. It's gonna be really weird at first. You're not gonna get it. It's almost like imagine when you're playing video games on a PC and you type in a cheat code, and it doesn't make a lot of sense, but it's like you press a bunch of buttons and you have to remember it, and eventually you remember it. That's how programming is like that for everything, essentially. The You type in all your code, then you're gonna the people that are writing code and putting it on the internet for you know like help electronics help forms and stuff. They're gonna write programs that you can copy paste, and they'll have commented out sections where it's like in the middle of the program, it'll be like just it'll be commented out, meaning that it doesn't actually apply to the program. It's just there for you to read it for your pleasure, so you can understand what the fuck is going on in the program. And it's gonna say like this function does this and this does this and this, spins the dildo around at 20,000 RPM or whatever the fuck you're into that you're running with C program. Yeah, and you add comments too for the next guy, especially if you're releasing shit. So that's C program. Hopefully you're not making, fucking 20,000 RPM dildo spinners. Spooktacular. What does that mean? Are you spooky gonna come try to get me? Is that what you're saying? I'm just a regular dude. I'm sure there's plenty of other shit you can get that better than me. The psychics? I have no idea what you're talking about. Do you think we should be more into 3D printing stuff? And if so, what? Yeah, sure. I mean, 3D printing is really useful. So if you get a 3D printer, you not only can you do plastic. So I use a 3D printer a lot for like, what it's really good for is like, you got some family member, like a special lady, and they've got some kind of like, I don't know what it is, like some fucking piece of furniture with wheels on it or something, and their wheel breaks, and then it's like something they bought at a flea market, and you're never gonna find that wheel. You just print it up, 3D print it, and they're gonna think that you're a fucking genius, and you help them. It's like direct help, right? Like it's very useful. If you can do metal, you guys know about like metal forging. So you can make like 3D prints, and you can experiment with the uh, like shrinkage and shit on your actual print, like make it like 1% bigger or whatever, to account for shrinkage or whatever you want to do. And you can do you get yourself some green sand and a furnace, make a furnace like a metal furnace. Use coal or you can use gas, and then you get your temps high enough. And then I mean, aluminum is like a lower melting temp than steel, but you can do steel. And then now you can just fucking cast metal parts. I mean, for whatever the fuck you want. I mean, it's good to do. So for instance, right? Like, I'm not like you. Like most people in the world, just throw away fucking everything, right? Like, most people just kind of like eat the yogurt. Like life is just like a yogurt container. They eat the yogurt and they just throw away the container. I'm not like that. So like I have like for instance, this is like all the metal that I've consumed in various projects and stuff for like the past 6 months, and then I have a metal bin. Okay, so all that metal right here, that's just like various metal that a normal person would look at as trash. That has copper in it, that has steel, that has aluminum, and no, I'm not a fucking hoarder. I'm not a fucking hoarder. I'm gonna be alive when you're dead. That's what's going on. Even though I have MS, so I can melt down. I can melt down copper. I can make shit out of copper. I can print 3D print whatever I want as a form, and then I can cast metal and just like reproduce the thing. So I can make engine parts. I can make fucking like whatever. You know what I mean? Yeah, well, sure. Oh, laser scanner. Yeah, exactly. So, like EFPs, right? I mean, I don't know. I don't want to talk about EFPs too much in here because I'll get a fucking B2 dropped on me. But the so you can yeah, I got a TIG welder. You can like EFP, right? So if you want to do EFP, you know, good luck finding a fucking EFP plate that's made out of copper. Well, you can cast that shit easy. You make complexity of EFPs with like micro fucking dimples in them. If you wanted to, that would be illegal though, so don't do it. Wouldn't it be nice? Wouldn't it be nice if we could just do this shit and not have to think about the communist government that we're having to protect ourselves from? Like, wouldn't that be nice if we actually had America and we just all be free? So EFPs. I'm not gonna talk about. I'm not gonna use that word. The you do car punchers, I guess if you want. You do aircraft. You can do anti-aircraft. You just aim, point it up, and make it not one, maybe multiple. I mean, you guys get what I'm saying though? Like, there's no reason that, like the fact that people can't speak freely on the internet and have to censor what they say, that means that you have a problem in the country. You know, like you have a serious problem. There should be no enemies in the United States. You know, all of our enemies should be foreign. It should be some scary thing over somewhere else, and um, nobody should be like gaming us to go get us to fight them so that we like kill ourselves. It should be like, you know, let's not fuck with those people because that would be bad news. Let's hang out here where it's cool and we're free, and then they come over here, then we'll all rock. We'll get together and we'll rock their shit. That's how it should be. It shouldn't be like how it is now. It's just all fucked up. It's just a big fucking game. I mean, they're playing all of us, man. Yeah, you and me both want a fucking igla. Yeah, Stoner 63 is sweet. Okay. Well, do you guys have anything else? I'm gonna wrap it up. Okay. Have a good night, guys. Thank you.